Hey guys, anime fanfics here. These are chapters 1 to 4 of Akuma no Senshi by Random Writer 21. Links to all stories are in the description below. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to my channel. Prelude: Naruto is a traditional samurai meaning kenjutsu and following the Bushido code. Naruto will not become a shinobi and will not be using traditional shinobi techniques. Instead of chakra, Naruto will utilize ki, which he will learn more about near the end of Arc 1. Naruto will be mature for his age. Chapter 1 Arc 1. Naruto Uzumaki, Jinchuriki to the Kyuubi no Kitsune, and the son of Kushina Uzumaki and Minato Namikaze. He doesn't know these things yet, but had always wondered who his parents were and why the village seemed to hate him. He was never physically abused, mind you. In fact, the villagers seemed content with their hate-filled glares and whispers, among other acts, at trying to make Naruto suffer. It was because of these callous acts that certain thoughts filled his 6-year-old head. As he sat on the swing which hung from a tree branch not far from the academy, a 6-year-old Naruto pondered on his life thus far. He hated it, plain and simple. His parents were and why the village seemed to hate him. He was never physically abused. As he looked towards the faces on the Hokage monument, the yondaime being the one which caught his gaze, Naruto couldn't help but wonder if the shinobi lifestyle was worth it. Hell, Naruto even wondered if this was even his home. He began to swing as the first week of the academy passed him by. The memories further solidified the questions which plagued his mind. A mind that was not unlike the Nara's. Although the teachers didn't care about what they called the blonde menace, one person did and understood Naruto very well. The librarian. With a smile, Naruto hopped off the swing and headed to the library in the hopes that his thoughts could be focused off. Perhaps even finding a new path to take. As Naruto entered, he was greeted by an elderly woman with white, thinning hair, a fair amount of wrinkles, and a smile that was so infectious that one couldn't help but smile back. It was one she gave Naruto as she paused in her book stamping. Ah, Naruto my boy, back again to get your mind off things? Hi Megumi. Naruto said, but his smile wasn't fooling anybody. With a sigh, Megumi put the stamp down and walked around her desk to give the blonde a comforting hug. Once done, she bent to Naruto's level, which made her old knees crack and pop in protest. As Megumi stared into Naruto's dulled sapphire eyes with her own beady black orbs, she couldn't help but internally sigh at the story such eyes told. What seems to be the matter, Naruto? You can tell this old grandma anything. So Naruto did as told, and to say that Megumi was a bit miffed by what the villagers had done was an understatement. She knew of Naruto's burden as well as his parents, though Megumi knew it wasn't her place to tell. With a pat on Naruto's shoulders, Megumi stood and pointed towards the eastern section of the library. You should find what you are looking for over there. Would you like me to escort you? Naruto shook his head as he replied. Please sit, Megumi, I don't know if your old bones could take much more. With a smile, she ruffled Naruto's hair, which made the boy chuckle. For 6 years old, you are quite the gentleman. As Megumi headed back to her desk, she saw the stares of contempt some of the civilians sent Naruto's way. Saddened by the sight, Megumi couldn't help but shake her head in disbelief. As she sat down and picked up the stamp, Naruto had found what he was looking for and was searching for an empty desk to sit at. Once he did, Naruto opened the book and began to read. A samurai follows what is known as Bushido, 7 principles or virtues every samurai warrior should live by and never stray from: rectitude, courage, benevolence, politeness, veracity, honor, and loyalty. To expand on this, the samurai warrior holds loyalty, courage, veracity, compassion, and honor as important, above all else. Has an appreciation and respect of life. Is deadly in combat and yet so gentle and compassionate with children and the weak. Strives for enlightenment, for good judgment, personal growth, and self-awareness. Practices some type of martial arts skill or something that helps him or her develop physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Uses death as his or her advisor, not his or her enemy. Seeks to understand the phrase, know thyself, and seeks communal and family relationships and understanding the role of the servant and the master. Failure to uphold this code, the samurai is tasked with taking his own life. Naruto looked up from the book and rubbed his temples in deep thought and confusion. Due to his age, most of this was hard to understand. After a long break, Naruto started to read again, where he found that samurai worked directly under the daimyo and was loyal only unto them. It was a fact that made Naruto smile, one which was erased as he thought back to Bushido. With a shrug, Naruto closed the book and checked it out with Megumi. As he ran towards the Hokage Tower in the hopes that his GG would know of a samurai trainer, Naruto couldn't help but feel happy. A feeling which he hadn't felt in quite some time. Hokage Tower. Hiruzen Sarutobi, the Sandaime Hokage, was doing the bane of every Kage's existence, paperwork. No matter how much he completed, the amount of work seemed to multiply at an infinite rate. Oh, how he longed for something or someone to interrupt him from the monotonous task. Luckily, that wish was granted as Naruto burst into the room, which sent the ANBU on guard, relaxing once they knew who the intruder was. As the book was slammed on his desk, tipping over some paperwork in the process, Hiruzen looked at the title with a raised eyebrow before turning it towards his surrogate grandson. Samurai? Why the sudden interest, my boy? The answer was one the Sandaime was not expecting. The villagers. Naruto bluntly said. I can't shop, the teachers hate me, and the only friends I have is you and the Ichirakus. The Sandaime brought a hand down his face, ending with himself absent-mindedly stroking his goatee in thought. On one hand, he could give in to Naruto's request, but on the other he wanted to force the boy to become a shinobi like his father had. Look Naruto, as much as it brings my old heart joy in seeing you explore other avenues, I still think you should give the academy another shot. Hiruzen pleaded, though it was apparently the wrong thing to say. No. I will never go back to that hate-filled place. Naruto said, tears of sorrow now streaming down his face. I can't take the glares anymore, GG, I just want to die. Those last 4 words made the Sandaime truly feel his age. No 6-year-old should wish for death, they should be happy, ready to explore what's out there in the world. Explore. That one word made Hiruzen think about the path of the samurai. He understood them quite well, after all he did fight through 3 wars and live through the warring clan era. Perhaps he would acquiesce Naruto's request and tell him of his parentage when his mind had settled. With a mental nod, and a slight smile to boot, Hiruzen knew of just the person who could help with this situation. A retired samurai from Iron Country set up shop a couple months ago, one eagerly looking for an apprentice. As Hiruzen stood and walked around his desk to comfort Naruto, he couldn't help but think of the boy's heritage. You needn't beg for death, my grandson. The Sandaime warmly stated. In time, the villagers will understand just how powerful a person they have lost. Naruto sniffled and looked up as Hiruzen wiped the tears away. The blonde-haired boy, although confused by the last statement, knew that his words had connected. As the Sandaime handed Naruto the book before being escorted outside, he couldn't keep the megawatt smile off his face. Once out of the office and on the streets, Hiruzen couldn't help but notice what Naruto had been dealing with all these years. It made him realize that he broke his sensei's cardinal rule. Family always comes before the village. He hadn't taken care of Naruto, a person he sees as family. In fact, the whole village was his family, and yet he had become soft in his old age. Eyes now like hardened steel, he mentally vowed that this village would become strong once again. The Sandaime and Naruto, after 10 minutes of walking, arrived at a small shop which sold a variety of items. The outside was nothing much, but the inside was what gave the quaint store its name, which was painted on the wide window beside the main entrance. Harumas's Emporium. It was through this window that everyone could see the man's wares. Hung on the right wall was different sizes of katana, wakizashi, and tanto, as well as wooden practice swords called bakken. On the left side of the wall were tea sets, repair kits for clothing and or armor, and bows. On the wooden floor of the store was barrels filled with shuriken and arrows. And lastly, behind the front desk, hanging on the wall, were different types of samurai armor, kimono, and geta sandals. As Naruto and Hiruzen walked in, a bell jingled overhead, followed by footsteps from the back of the store. Within seconds, an older gentleman walked out and greeted them with a smile. The elder, who towered over Hiruzen, had fair, slightly wrinkled skin and black eyes, much like the color of his hair which was set in a topknot. On his face, a small scar was present on the left cheek, a testament to his profession. Along with his white kimono, black pants and Geta sandals hung 2 swords affixed to his right side by a black sash, a katana and wakizashi. The old man bowed to his guests, his voice much like Hiruzen's, strong yet caring.
Welcome Hokage-sama and guest to my emporium, my name is Fukui Harumasa.
As Hiruzen was about to speak, he caught the retired samurai and Naruto looking at each other. One was in awe at the man who stood before him, the other produced a frown as he, like Megumi, saw the story in those dull sapphire orbs. Soon, Fukui turned his gaze towards the Sandaime. You have brought me a young child who seemed to have lost his way, Hokage Dano. Harumasa said as he smiled and looked to Naruto once again. Tell me, child, what troubles you? Although nervous, his mouth seemingly filled with cotton balls, Naruto oddly felt that he could trust this man. My life and this village. Naruto bluntly said. I hate both and the samurai seems like my only out. Fukui nodded and decided to pry further. I see, but tell me, what do you seek if you so desire to follow Bushido? Is this for respect or for revenge? Naruto became confused, his facial features contorted in such a way which made the retired samurai chuckle a little. Fukui enjoyed the childlike innocence Naruto contained, an innocence which he lost many years ago. Seeing the blonde boy before him reminded him much of his own childhood, which made Fukui smile. You are but an empty glass waiting to be filled. You have strayed off the path of life and are unsure where to go. Make sense, old man. Naruto yelled. The samurai chuckled before he bent down to Naruto's level. What is your name, child? Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto, let us start again. Why do you wish to become a samurai? The more he thought about it, the more Naruto didn't know. His shoulders slumped in sadness as he thought he wouldn't amount to anything in life. However, that warm feeling from before came back which brought a smile to his face. I don't know, but I always get a warm feeling every time I think about the path of the warrior. Harumasa hummed in thought and patted Naruto's shoulders as he stood, interested in why this was. As he looked at Hiruzen, he noticed the saddened expression on his face every time he looked at Naruto. With a sigh, he gave a smile towards Naruto to reassure him. Wait here, Naruto, feel free to browse the store while I talk to the Hokage, okay? Naruto nodded and quickly ran to the wall of various swords. By time the 2 elders went to the back room, his curious 6-year-old mind gravitated towards the samurai armor. The warmth returned again, and Naruto reached for the armor with a smile. Meanwhile in the back room, Hiruzen and Fukui both chatted silently so that Naruto couldn't hear what they were saying. You have brought me a diamond in the rough, Hokage Dano. I sense he is still unsure of whether this path is right for him or not, but I digress. Although calm at first, his expression quickly became stern. Tell me, why haven't you informed Naruto of his heritage and what he contains? The Hokage was now on alert and ready to end the person in front of him. However, Harumasa never flinched, he was calm as a tranquil lake. How do you know of such classified information? Calm yourself, Hokage-sama, I am not your enemy. I merely took the facts and pieced them together. Hiruzen glared at Fukui, have you been stalking Naruto? If you have, I won't hesitate to kill you here and now. The samurai smiled at how protective the Sandaime was. Not at all, Hokage-sama, I may have been here 2 months, but the villagers seem to like their sake a little too much, ninja included. The Hokage clenched his fists in anger then relaxed after taking a deep breath. Mifune, my master, told me that I would meet a boy who lost his way before coming here, Hokage Dano. He told me that the fate of the elemental nations and Iron Country would rest in his hands alone. Fukui said as he leaned against the back wall. Almost like Jiraiya's prophecy from the Toads. Hiruzen thought then looked the samurai in the eyes. If I agree to this, will you teach Naruto your style? Harumasa shook his head then shrugged. That is not my choice to make, it is Naruto's. As to your other question, my style is based on Aido, the art of sword drawing. Hiruzen tensed as Fukui suddenly got in a stance. A flash of silver could be seen, but the Kage did not flinch. He calmly caught the tip of the blade with his right index and pointer fingers, earth chakra added so that he wouldn't get cut. Fukui couldn't help but let out a hearty laugh, wiping tears from his eyes once the laughter ceased. Just what I expected from the god of shinobi. A man to survive not only the warring clan era, but 3 wars as well. Hiruzen let go of the blade, it being sheathed not long after. Glad to see you haven't lost your touch after sitting at that desk for so long. The Hokage couldn't keep the smirk off his face. What good a Kage would I be if my skills stagnated, but on to other matters. What style was that? Never in all my years have I saw such a thing? The samurai returned the smile. Muso Jikiden Aishin Ryu, the style in which Naruto will learn among other things if he accepts the path of the warrior. Although Hiruzen wanted to learn more about said sword style, he knew the importance of keeping secrets. He didn't press any further. Shall we see how my surrogate grandson is doing? Fukui nodded and both walked out of the office and to the front of the store to see Naruto garbed in samurai armor and a katana in his right hand. The 2 elderly gentlemen watched as Naruto swung the sword in different directions, an act which made both smile. After a minute, Fukui cleared his throat and internally chuckled. Well, Naruto, it seems like you have chosen your path. Ah! Naruto jumped in the air as he didn't expect them to return yet. He quickly sheathed the katana and placed it back on the shelf while taking off the armor. Hiruzen's smile grew as he saw the happy look on Naruto's face. It seems that Naruto found his path again. Minato, Kushina, you would be proud. Sorry Samurai-san, I was just curious is all. Naruto blushed in embarrassment. The samurai waved his hands in the air. Not to worry Naruto, I see you are eager to follow Bushido then? It was hesitant but Naruto nodded in acceptance. Hi, but some of it was confusing. All in due time, child. I will teach you the path of the warrior among other things. First things first, that orange monstrosity has to go and you will be wearing what I am. But I like orange. The outburst earned a bop on the head which made Naruto glare at the samurai. Ow! Why'd you hit me? A stoic look was on Fukui's face as he looked at Naruto. 1. You lack discipline, and 2. You were distracted by thinking about me burning that hideous outfit. Naruto stared at the man in awe as the samurai somehow read his mind. This earned another bop on the head which made Hiruzen chuckle. You were distracted on how I read your mind, this is something we will work on. Expect nothing, be prepared for anything. Your training will start tomorrow at 5 in the morning, I expect you to be here on time. Hi. Naruto said then turned to the Hokage. GG, can we get ramen? No. Fukui interjected sternly, you need to eat more vegetables and get a balanced meal, ramen on special occasions only. Naruto pouted, but the villagers only sell me rotten or overpriced food. The Sandame's eyes suddenly gleamed with anger. Naruto, we are going shopping, I think it's time they know who the boss is around here. Haramusadano, thank you for helping Naruto and I. My pleasure Hokage Dano. Once the 2 left Fukui smiled, I must inform Mifune Dano that I have found my student, in time maybe he can teach my student as well. Iron Country, evening, Mifune's office. The sun had recently set in Iron Country. Mifune was doing his last tasks for the day when a messenger came in, bowed low, and handed his leader the message. After the elder samurai took it, the messenger stood up and left without saying a word. With a curious look, the leader of Iron Country turned over the envelope and smiled at seeing Fukui's name on the front. Now what do you have here, my student? Have you found the one that which the prophecy foretold? Mifune flipped the envelope back, opened it, then pulled out the letter and began to read. Dear Mifune-sama, or Master. I have found the one which the prophecy has foretold, but I fear for the boy's sanity. Konoha has hurt him deeply, but fear not, the darkness that lies within will be tamed. He is a boy with a fox that which tramples in the leaves, a son of a Hokage and a mother from the whirlpool, from this boy we shall believe. Sincerely, Fukui Harumasa. Mifune closed the letter and placed it back inside with a smile as the riddle at the end was easy to solve. The samurai leader was not surprised that the boy's sanity teetered on the brink, after all, a Jinchuriki that is known by the populace is bound to breed hate. Humans tend to fear what they don't understand. Although this was a blessing, Mifune knew that the boy needed to be trained, and it would be a while until he was ready to step foot in this land. The old leader rubbed his temples with a groan. But will my student and I's training be enough to stop the civil unrest which grows from the snow-covered mountains of my home? A smile soon graced Mifune's lips as he thought of a saying. Good things come to those who wait. Following morning, Harumasa's Emporium. The bell jingled in the store, followed by the sound of a door closing. Naruto arrived just as told. What confused him was that nobody seemed to be in the store. Samurai-san, are you here? He shouted with Fukui appearing from the back of the store not long after. Ah, Naruto, I see you have arrived on time. You are quite the responsible person. Fukui went into the back, then returned shortly after, and handed Naruto his outfit. Put that on, you will burn that orange suit you wear afterward. Naruto hesitated and got slapped on the back of the head. Remember what I said yesterday, child, expect nothing, prepare for anything. How do I prepare if I see nothing is happening? A wise question, young student, but that is what the lesson will be for today, situational awareness. Now go on, change up, then meet me in the back. Hi, Samurai-san. Master, my young student, for now on I will be called as such. The samurai said sternly. Naruto nodded. Hi, Master Harumasa. It took Naruto 5 minutes to change as he never used a kimono before, but once he got it on he felt comfortable. It was really soft and lightweight. His outfit was like that of his master, a simple white kimono, black pants, and Geta sandals. As he arrived to the back of the store with his old clothes, Naruto saw Fukui standing by a wood-burning stove which was for heating in the winter. The latter motioned to the stove, the stern look still on his face. Put your old clothes in here, Naruto, and set them alight. The burning of your old clothing signifies that that part of you is now gone. What you wear now is the beginning to your new path, that of the warrior. Naruto took one last look at his clothes before doing as told. He stared at the match he was handed and, with a sigh, he struck the match on the side of the stove and threw it onto his clothing. As Naruto watched his old clothes burn, he could only think on what the samurai said to him yesterday. I am but an empty glass, one that is waiting to be filled. After a few minutes, Fukui motioned for Naruto to follow him to the front of the store. Once there, he took a 3-foot bakkan off the wall, perfect for Naruto's 3'6" frame. Next, the Harumasa took a black silk belt he got from behind the counter, then proceeded to put both on his student. The bakkan slid between the belt and the kimono in a secure fashion on the right side. The act made Naruto look into the elderly man's eyes with a raised eyebrow, one which Fukui caught. You will not pick up a sword for a few years yet. That bakkan is so you can get used to the weight. For now, you will use that until you get your real swords. Fukui patted Naruto on the shoulders and motioned him towards the door. Now come, we are going to wander the village. Pay close attention to everything around you. Hi, Master. Council Chambers. The clan heads, Shibi Aburame, Inoichi Yamanaka, Shikaku Nara, Hayashi Hyuga, Sumenazuka, Fugaku Uchiha, and Choza Akimichi, the advisors Koharu and Hamura as well as Danzo, were all waiting for the Hokage to arrive. None knew what this meeting was about and wondered why it was so early in the morning. They didn't have to wait long as the council doors opened, which showed Hiruzen in his Hokage attire, and a stern expression on his face. The god of shinobi was back. Advisors, Danzo, clan heads, I have called this meeting to inform you that we have failed one of our greatest legacies and we have nothing to blame but this village and myself. Hiruzen took a deep breath to compose himself and was impressed that everyone was silent still. Naruto Uzumaki started the academy a week ago but decided on another path as he came to me with a book yesterday, a book about the samurai. The eyes I looked into yesterday made me see what Naruto truly was. A child, an innocent child who had a burden thrust upon himself without his say, on the brink of collapse, on the brink to do away with this village. Danzo interjected, which showed his distaste, Samurai Yaba. This is a ninja village and samurai have no place here. I say you hand Naruto over to me so that I can train him. Hiruzen slammed his fists on the table. Danzo, how many times do I have to repeat myself? No. And don't think for a second that I don't know about your still existing root program. Try anything to Naruto and his master, whom is a retired samurai from Iron Country, I might add, and your punishment will not be lenient. The clan heads and advisors smirked at Danzo's shocked face. Hokage-sama, if I might interject, who is Naruto's master now? Shibi questioned. Fukui Harumasa, he was taught by Mifune, so I assure you Naruto is in good hands. Hayashi's eyes widened. Are you sure that name is correct, Hokage-sama? I assure you it is Hayashi-san, why do you ask? When the Hyuga was being formed, samurai still roamed the land and the Harumasa clan had an alliance with us after we had countless battles with them. Years passed and the samurai seemed to disappear along with our alliance. I must meet this man. The council chamber went silent as that was a response nobody expected. After a good 5 minutes of silence, Hamura cleared his throat. As interesting as this is, I sense you had other business, Hokage-sama. The Hokage nodded and said, yes, if you recall earlier how I said we failed one of our greatest legacies, that has to do with Naruto Uzumaki. Hiruzen pulled out a manila folder from his robes and slammed it on the large desk. He opened it and pulled out a birth certificate, blood test, and marriage certificate. These 3 documents were passed around. Those are proof to the fact that Naruto is the son of our Yondaime Hokage and Kushina Uzumaki. I will inform Naruto of everything as he has suffered at the hands of this village for far too long. After that the whole village will know of the sins they have committed. Nobody denied the truth that was staring them in the face, yet Danzo had his concerns. And what of IWA and Kumo? That, my old friend, Hiruzen said with a smirk, is where your root will be handy. I want every list of shinobi under your control and their skill set. In fact, I will have Jiraiya and Tsunade return so that any seals you placed can be removed, and that they are checked to see if they are fit for duty. Deny my request and it will be your head, Danzo. The Warhawk sighed knowing he couldn't do anything, but the Hokage had one more stipulation. Oh, and Danzo, all your files that we collect from your base will be gone over, any sign of treasonous activity, and you will be executed publicly. As of now, Root is now under my command. The Hokage smiled at the pissed expression on his old rival's face, even more so when the clan heads and advisors started to snicker. Danzo clenched his fists and let out a strained, "Hi Hokage-sama." That is all I wanted to say, we are dismissed. Hayashi, Haruma Sadano should be training Naruto, but I will inform him that you want to meet. Hayashi bowed in thanks, then both left the chamber with the rest of the crowd. With Naruto. Master, this is boring, I do as you say but nothing seems out of the ordinary. Naruto huffed and crossed his arms, which earned a whack on the head. Fukui sighed and said, patience young student, this is something that will take time to hone in. For instance, there are 2 ANBU who have been following us. One is hiding behind the dumpster behind me and the other is on the roof overlooking me. How did he see us? We used a camouflage jutsu. Naruto was absolutely confused. I don't sense anyone? Fukui chuckled, then took a calming breath. Close your eyes, Naruto, and extend your senses. Ignore everything else around you as you do so. Naruto did as told and attempted to drown out the sounds around him. It took 10 minutes, but Naruto finally managed to do so. After another 5 minutes of focusing, he snapped open his eyes with a gasp. I saw a hazy mist around the ANBU. What was that? The samurai was impressed. He accessed his ki already, and at such a young age. Perhaps there is more to this boy than I once thought. That is the life force of every being on this planet, or what is known as ki or chi. For you to have accessed it at your age is truly astonishing. Naruto clutched his head, arg, so confused. You're only 6, my student, so you have every right, but that is the next part of your homework. After today's lesson you are to go to the library and read up on the elemental nations, the Kage, the villages, terrain, everything. Expect nothing, be prepared for anything? Naruto questioned. Naruto's master smiled and patted his student on the head. Very good, Naruto, now let us continue our lesson, but outside the village walls. You are welcome to come ANBU Sans, I assure you I won't bite. The Hokage needs to be informed of this. They left, master, I heard the wind that was picked up. Fukui blinked in slight shock. Increased senses thanks to the Kyuubi, just another thing I will be working on. You might be a better samurai than I once you graduate, my student. Nothing else was said between the two as they walked to a training ground which had a waterfall and many trees around. The sound of birds chirping and animals scampering about was plentiful. Before Naruto could question what they were going to do, he was handed a blindfold. I will be honing all of your senses. First I will take away your sight, then your smell, your hearing, and lastly touch. The samurai informed. Are you sure this is necessary, master? Naruto's head rocked backward as he was hit with a stone that Fukui found on the ground. What was that for you, old coot? Never question your master. A samurai's training encompasses all paths of Bushido. You took up this path, and to leave it would mean I would have to kill you after you slit your own stomach. Naruto looked into the serious gaze of his master and gulped. Why, you're joking, right? Fukui's eyes narrowed, his voice grew cold. No, a samurai never lies. If a samurai says that they will do something, they will as Bushido demands it. It was then his tone warmed. But you are only 6, so in time, you will understand. Enough chatter, put on the blindfold. Naruto didn't hesitate, but once it was on, he was immediately hit with multiple stones which made him scream in pain. A blind samurai can still fight. Listen for the sounds of the incoming projectile and dodge. Fukui instructed. Naruto attempted to dodge but got hit again. Having enough of getting pelted, Naruto decided to calm his emotions and drown out everything around him. Seeing Naruto's shoulders relax made Fukui internally smile. That's it, my student, relax and let your other senses guide you. Fukui threw a baseball-sized stone toward Naruto's face at a tremendous speed as he knew that Naruto would be able to catch it. For Naruto, it was quiet and his mind was blank, that is until a whooshing sound entered his ears. Letting instincts guide him, Naruto outstretched his right hand and caught the stone effortlessly. Yata, I did it! Naruto's happy dance didn't last long as another stone, this one the size of a pebble, hit Naruto squarely in the forehead, which brought him back to reality. You were distracted by your joy in accomplishing your task. We will continue to do this until lunchtime. Between breaks you will be doing push-ups, sit-ups, crunches and squats. Get in position. Naruto nodded though he rubbed his head where the stone hit. Hi, master. Hokage office. Inu, Hawk, I see you have returned from your protection assignment, though you are hours early. Care to tell why? The Hokage said, his eyes narrowed at the two ANBU in front of him. Sorry, Hokage-sama, but Haruma-san and Naruto managed to detect us. Hawk said with Inu adding to his statement. Haruma said that Naruto accessed something called ki or chi. Is that even possible, sir? Hiruzen lit his clay pipe and puffed a few times, which made the smell of tobacco permeate the air. I am unsure about chi, but I find it hard to believe that a 6-year-old could detect you. The samurai, yes, but Naruto? Are you sure you aren't slipping on your duties, Inu, Hawk? No, Hokage-sama. Both quickly stated, which prompted the Hokage to stand from his chair and head towards the door. Good, I will have to look into Naruto's training myself then. Guard the office while I'm gone. Hi, Hokage-sama. The ANBU bowed as Hiruzen left in a black puff of smoke. With Naruto. Naruto was now doing his second set of 20 crunches, sit-ups, and push-ups. As he was doing the push-ups, Haruma would stand on Naruto's back for added weight. This of course made Naruto lash out at his master, which earned a one-way trip to the ground via a stomp from Haruma. After a few beatdowns, Naruto just went along with his exercises until he was finished. Once done, Naruto stood from his crunches and brushed the dirt of his kimono as well as the sweat from his brow. The blindfold was still on. Suddenly, Haruma sensed something and decided to test his student. Tell me, Naruto, can you sense anything wrong about the training ground we are in? Naruto pushed his senses out in the hopes of finding something, but no such luck. Not really, master, I only heard some birds chirping in a couple trees to my right. Seeing the defeated look on Naruto's face, Fukui reassured him. A good attempt, but like I said before, it will take time to master all that the samurai have to offer. After a pause, the elder samurai turned to a nearby tree. You can come out, Hokage-sama. I sense you wish to talk to my student? Naruto turned to the tree and took off his blindfold to see the Sandaime walk towards them. Indeed I do, but there are too many eyes and ears about the woods. Fukui nodded and turned towards his student. Then our lesson is done for the day. Naruto, come to my store after you're done to pick up more of your new outfit and burn the old ones at your home. Also, remember your homework. Naruto bowed. Hi, thank you, master. Before we part, Haruma Sadano, Hayashi Hyuga would like to talk to you about an ancient treaty they had with your clan. The samurai's eyes lit up as he remembered the contract quite well. Ah yes, I haven't seen a Hyuga in quite some time. Sadly, I'm the last remaining member of my clan. Maybe my student could pass on my legacy once I am gone. Really? A slap is heard in the training ground. Will you stop that, old man? I got enough bruises today. Emotions can distract you from the fight and possible dangers around you. Mediation will be your next lesson, same time tomorrow. By your leave, Hokage-sama. Fukui bowed. Hiruzen returned the bow, then led Naruto to the Hokage Tower while Harumasa went to the Hyuga compound to see what Hayashi wanted. Hokage Tower. As Naruto and Hiruzen arrived, the Hokage dismissed Inu, Hawk, and the hidden ANBU, then set up security seals so that nobody else would listen in. Naruto took a seat on the couch while Hiruzen sat in his chair. So GG, what did you need to talk about? As Hiruzen leaned back in his chair, he began in a sad tone. When I saw those cold eyes of yours yesterday, and heard what the villagers were saying about you, I woke up. No longer would I be considered soft, and I have taken steps to ensure Konoha harms you no longer. Naruto scratched his head in slight confusion. Not that I'm happy about that, but why tell me this? You always wanted to know about your parents and why the village hated you. Well, that day is today. The village will find out about your heritage after lunch. Naruto sat silently as he watched Hiruzen get up and take off the picture of the Yondaime which was on the wall with the other past Hokage. Underneath this was a safe. After it was unlocked, Hiruzen grabbed 2 scrolls and handed them to Naruto once everything was back in place. One of the scrolls had a spiral on it while the other had the kanji for Namikaze on it. When Naruto read the kanji, he gasped in shock. And no, that can't be. If the Yondaime was my father, then that means the Kyuubi is. Hiruzen nodded sadly as he sat beside Naruto. Yes, the Kyuubi is sealed within you and is the reason why the villagers hate you. They see you as the demon, not the scroll that holds it back. What is this spiral symbol? Naruto questioned as he looked at the scroll intently. That is the Uzumaki clan's symbol, which was sadly destroyed in the Second War. Your mother, Kushina Uzumaki, came from Yuzu before that. Please understand that your parents loved you very much and regretted using you as the container for the Kyuubi. I'm sorry for keeping this from you. Naruto wiped the tears from his eyes and hugged his grandfatherly figure. Thank you, Gigi, and I forgive you, but how will the village take it? Hiruzen shrugged. We will see later today, but first, how about getting a new home? I have to pick up my clothing from my master Gigi, and then we will go to my parents' home. I have a better idea, as Haruma-san is likely still talking to Hayashi. How about some ramen? Yes. Doing this made Naruto clasp his hands over his mouth. I guess master is right about my emotions. Hiruzen ruffled Naruto's hair. I look forward to seeing you in full samurai gear one of these days, Naruto. Even though you aren't a ninja, I believe your parents would still be proud. Maybe, but ramen GG, let's go. Hiruzen chuckled as Naruto grasped his hand and dragged him out of the office. Oh Minato, Kushina, if only you could see your son now. Hyuga District. Fukui Harumasa walked up to the gate guards at the Hyuga district, introduced himself with a bow, and was quickly escorted into Hayashi's personal office. Once the door was closed, Hayashi and Harumasa bowed to each other. Tea, Harumasa-sama? Hayashi asked as he motioned to the tea set on one of the tables beside his desk. That would be lovely, thank you, Hayashi-sama. Once the clan head poured the samurai's tea and handed him the cup and saucer, the two sat down and started their chat. Hayashi cleared his throat and began in a regal tone, Haruma-sama, it is an honor to meet you and it is my hope that we can perhaps rebuild the alliance we once had with your ancestors. Fukui is fine Hayashi-sama, no need for honorifics between two allies. The samurai sipped his tea and smiled as he swallowed the hot liquid, a hint of jasmine. The tea is lovely, thank you. Hayashi let out a small smile, you're welcome, but perhaps we can get to the matter at hand. Oh, it seems this old body of mine tends to wander on about the past. Harumasa cleared his throat, enough delay, you wish to restart our alliance, one that we had many years ago, correct? Hayashi nodded, both sipping their tea at the same time. As much as I would love to Hayashi-sama, I simply cannot in good fortune continue said alliance as I am the last of my clan. The Hyuga clan head sighed, then his eyes widened at what he learned in the meeting today. Perhaps your student can take up your name and continue your lineage, Fukui. Said man held up a hand to signify hold it, although your ambitions are in good faith, that is not for me to decide Hayashi-sama, it is Naruto's. Whether he keeps his lineage intact is up to him, but as time goes on and he wanders the path of the warrior, as he delves deeper into that which is the meaning of life, only then will my student be able to make the right choice. Hayashi paused at the cryptic answer but eventually shrugged and set the teacup and saucer on the nearby desk. A shame, but good things come to those who wait. Perhaps we can chat about old times? Fukui smiled, it would be my pleasure. Chapter 2 Arc 1. Naruto was currently sitting on the brown leather couch at his new home. He glanced at the photo in his hands, a picture of his parents, with a sad expression. Yes, Naruto finally was able to live in his parents' home. It wasn't extravagant by any means, but it did get the job done. 2 bathrooms, a kitchen, family room, library, a training dojo in the basement and 2 bedrooms. One of which was painted a bright orange. A crib was in one corner with a chest nearby filled with stuffed animals and toys. It was this that led to Naruto starting at his parents' photo. Kushina and Minato were holding her pregnant stomach, both with massive grins on their faces. Naruto sniffled, wiped away a stray tear, got up and placed the photo back on the wall before going to the master bedroom. As he started towards the room, he couldn't help but feel happy yet angry at the village's reaction to his heritage. Flashback. Naruto and Hiruzen just got done at Harumasa's emporium, and as they left, the old samurai reminded Naruto of his homework and his lesson for tomorrow. Naruto thanked him and left the store, but instead of going to his apartment, the Sandaime led Naruto to the Hokage Tower. It was here the Uzumaki knew it was time to see how the village would react. A reassuring hand was placed on his shoulder, which made Naruto look up to see Hiruzen's smiling face. Although it eased what emotions flew around inside, the nervousness was still there. I know you must be nervous, Naruto, but you must stay strong to show these villagers what you truly are, a samurai in training and the next heir to the Uzumaki clan. The Sandaime said. Naruto sighed and simply nodded. With a twitch of a finger, an ANBU was called to gather the villagers, and 5 minutes later, the same one came back to tell that they were ready. With a deep breath, Naruto took a step out on the balcony, the Hokage to his right, and looked down on those that gave him what he dubbed the stink eye. He also saw those that refused to sell him food, clothing, and needed equipment to further his shinobi career, not that it mattered now. It was then the whispers began. What is that thing doing with the Hokage? Has the Hokage finally saw fit to end that vile creature? What is that thing wearing? It doesn't deserve those clothes after what it did. These whispers didn't go unnoticed by Hiruzen, but what about Naruto? With a glance at his surrogate grandson, the Sandaime was surprised to see Naruto in a calm state, though he noted his clenched fists, which made him sigh internally with sadness. He's trying so hard to remember Harumasa's teachings as well as what he read in that samurai book. After breaking from his thoughts, the Hokage turned his attention to the villagers below and held up a hand which quieted the crowd. It was then Naruto's heritage was revealed. The fallout of such information varied. Many villagers denied it outright, some wanted to commit seppuku for their sins, others were glad they treated the boy with respect, and there were the select few that were neutral on the subject. Hiruzen motioned for Naruto to say something, but instead he gave the crowd a cold stare and pointed to himself before he motioned to the crowd again. The message was clear, this is the real me, and the consequences of your actions. One villager picked up a stone, something which the Hokage caught and signed for his Anbu to stand down. Hiruzen was curious to see what Naruto would say. Sure enough, the stone was chucked directly at Naruto's head, who expertly caught it. Naruto took the rock and bounced it between his hands as he thought of what to say. On one hand, he could retaliate, but what would Hirumasa say? On the other, he could simply let the villager be to see how everyone would react. The decision didn't take long, all the while he stared at the person who threw the stone. I would chuck this back at you, but as a samurai in training I must follow Bushido. Like my master told me the day I met him, you are all people who lost their way and are empty cups waiting to be filled. Naruto dropped the rock, swiftly turned around, and headed back indoors. The Hokage followed soon after. For the villagers, most were now in a state of confusion as they had no idea how to make it up to the Uzumaki heir. Flashback end. Naruto chuckled silently as he remembered the multiple people that were following him and the sandame to his parents' home with some trying to give him gifts and flowers. Naruto never accepted these offerings and politely told them that their actions from now on would determine if he would forgive them or not. Little did Naruto know was that Fukui was watching the whole ordeal. An act which brought a happy tear to the elder man's eye. As Naruto climbed into bed and closed his eyes, he could only think about his training from now on and the path he chose. Root Base. Danzo sat at his desk and looked at the files in front of him as he contemplated his choices, either destroy the files or acquiesce Hiruzen's request. However, in doing this the War Hawk thought about how it was possible for his root to be found out. Only one thing came to mind. A mole. But how? I checked and triple-checked everything I'd done. Danzo grunted angrily and shoved the papers off his desk. As they fluttered to the floor, something caught his eye and he quickly snatched it before it hit the ground. What he saw made him crumple the paper up in disgust. Damn you, Hiruzen! On the now crumpled paper was a seal and, from what Danzo could tell, it was for recording purposes. His choice was made, he knew he couldn't hide. A slam on the floor with his cane made one of his trusted agents, Sai, come in and kneel. You called Danzo-sama? The agent emotionlessly said. Danzo gathered the needed files, sealed them in a scroll and placed it on his desk. Take these to Hiruzen and tell him that I will cooperate fully. Sai nodded, grabbed the files and did as told. Danzo sighed heavily and rubbed his temples at how everything crashed down around him. It was then a possibility came to mind which put a massive grin on his face. Oh yes, the War Hawk may have been cornered, but he was far from done. You poor deluded fool Hiruzen, I may cooperate fully, but will you see the storm I am about to create? The great tree cannot survive without its roots. Danzo chuckled, then tapped his cane on the ground, which made more agents come in. Initiate Operation Fox Hunt. At once, Danzo-sama. The emotionless drone said, and went off to do their task, all the while Danzo had an evil smile on his face. Yes, the great tree cannot live without its roots, I will make sure of it. Sarutobi Estate. Hiruzen was enjoying his green tea as he sat on the couch in his family room. A smile was adorned on his face as he glanced at the piece of paper next to him, a seal was on it. In fact, it was the same one in Danzo's office. Although the seal at the base was now destroyed, it didn't matter to Hiruzen as his spy would fill in the rest. It wasn't long until there was a knock at the front door. Come in. The door opened with Sai entering shortly after with a scroll in his hands. Once in front of the Hokage, he bowed in respect though his voice did not stay emotionless. It actually turned into a normal, calm tone. Danzo is displeased, and I fear for my safety, Hokage-sama. Perhaps I can be placed in your care? Hiruzen took the scroll and told Sai to rise, where he patted the boy on the shoulders, then told him to sit. You may. Sai took a seat with a true smile as the sandame motioned to the tea kettle on the table in front of him. Would you care for some tea as we chat about your former master? Please, and thank you, Hokage-sama, for giving me a second chance after my failed mission in the Land of Iron. Anytime, Sai. As he handed the boy the tea, he asked a question that he's been wanting to ask for the past year. I know the mission happened when you were only 7 years old, but can you tell me just what went on that day? Sai sighed and sipped his tea and grimaced at the bad memories. This might take a while, Hokage-sama. No worries, I have all night. Hiruzen said with a smile, and with that Sai began his tale. Following morning. Naruto was at the training field with his blindfold back on and, like before, he dodged the stones that were thrown at him. Although far from mastering the technique, Harumasa was pleased with his student's progress. An hour later, Fukui told Naruto to rest, which prompted Naruto to take off his blindfold and to sit in the shade under a nearby tree. You have done a wonderful job thus far, my student, but now comes a great test, patience. Fukui instructed, his right pointer finger in the air. Remember, a moment of patience can prevent a great disaster, and a moment of impatience can ruin a whole life. Naruto scratched his head in thought, which made his master shake his head in mirth. You may not understand my wise words this day, child, but when the day comes when I cannot be by your side, my teachings will make all the sense in the world. Naruto nodded with a smile and watched as Harumasa got in the Saiza position. Once in the same position, Naruto listened to his master's instructions. Now that you are in position, I want you to get in a meditative position like so. Fukui placed his hands together, one hand over top of each other with the thumbs touching one another, and placed them on his lap. It took Naruto a couple tries, but he managed to get it. Now, close your eyes, take deep breaths, and empty your mind of all things while ignoring the sounds around you. Naruto did as told while his master watched on, wondering how long his student would sit still. The silence did not last, as a couple minutes later, the complaining started. Master, this is boring. What is this supposed to do anyway, other than bore me to dash? Naruto's head rocked back as a rock hit him in the forehead. Ow! Upon opening his eyes, Naruto flinched at the stern look Fukui was sending his way. Remember what I said about patience? Naruto nodded, but the samurai knew otherwise. You may nod yes, but your thoughts say otherwise. Patience is the key to knowing thyself, my student. It will teach you to think clearly, much like you did when your heritage was revealed. Naruto stuttered in shock, why, you saw that? Fukui nodded and smiled, hi, and I couldn't be more proud. I saw your struggle. You wanted to enact your revenge, but Bushido does not list revenge as one of its principles, does it? No, Master Harumasa. Naruto said quietly with his head down. The old samurai saw the gears turn in his student's head, and do you know why that is, why revenge is frowned upon? Naruto's head suddenly shot up as he remembered Harumasa's early sage-like saying, revenge isn't patient and will ruin lives. The samurai clapped his hands and had the biggest grin on his face. Very good, my student, very good. Now that you understand, get back to meditating. With a smile, Naruto did as told, though Harumasa knew it would be a while before Naruto mastered his inner self and defeated the darkness within. As the retired samurai watched his student, he felt a presence disappear from the area which was watching from the start. So, someone is after my student, I will play their game for now. After all, patience is a virtue. Hokage office. It was a long night for the Sandaime Hokage as he was told what that mission to Iron Country entailed. In short, Danzo wanted to oust Mifune and sent Sai on a suicide mission. Luckily for Sai, the snowy and cold climate of Iron Country got to him before he could strike. Ironically enough, it was Mifune who found Sai passed out near the main village and covered in snow. Once he got Sai back to health, Mifune asked where he was from. Thanks to Sai's near-death state, the seal on his tongue vanished, which helped when Sai revealed everything to the leader of the samurai. One letter to Hiruzen later and Sai was pardoned of all crimes, then sent back home, discreetly of course. It was then Sai's view on life changed, he vowed to end Danzo's evil ways. Currently, Hiruzen was going over the multiple files Danzo had given him. As he looked, he came to the realization that his old rival professionally hid his tracks. Almost all the files given were useless minus a few which begged further study, but none had shown Danzo to be guilty of treasonous activities. It grated on the Sandaime's nerves as he knew that the old warhawk had to be planning something. Before he could continue, a knock on his door interrupted him from his thoughts. However, as Hiruzen stood, a knock on the window was heard as well. His students had arrived. After opening the window to let Jiraiya in, Hiruzen opened the door to allow Tsunade, Shizune, and her pig Tauntaun to enter. Both Sannin were happy to see their sensei was in good health. Jiraiya, Tsunade, Shizune, and Tauntaun. Hiruzen started with a smile. Thank you for coming, but before we get to any discussion, ANBU, would you please fetch Naruto Uzumaki and Haruma Sadano? A shunshin was heard to signify the ANBU left, and not even 2 minutes later, the Hokage mentioned were in front of them. Hey GG. Fukui smacked the back of Naruto's head and began to scold him. Later, the Hokage mentioned were in front of them. Manners and proper etiquette is yet another lesson you have to learn. Naruto scowled as his master turned and bowed to the two Sannin. Ah, Jiraiya, Tsunade, an honor to meet you. My name is Fukui Harumasa, retired samurai from Iron Country. The little shrimp you see beside me is my student, Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto went to speak out but got slapped upside the head again, which made Jiraiya and Tsunade chuckle. Naruto, not being happy about being the center of attention, crossed his arms and mumbled under his breath about how it wasn't funny. The laughing soon stopped as Jiraiya realized what path Naruto took. Sensei, I thought Naruto was in the academy to become a ninja, not a samurai? Hiruzen pulled out his pipe, lit it, and puffed a few times, which let the smell of tobacco permeate the office. This village and I failed, Jiraiya. Not only did the hate get to the boy, but I have become lax in my elder years, something which I am starting to rectify. Although Tsunade wanted to speak, Hiruzen put up a hand which halted what she was about to say. Though I could partly blame you, the godparents which were supposed to look after him, I won't do such an act since I failed to enforce that part of Minato's will. And before you ask, yes, he knows of his heritage, as does this village. Curiously, Jiraiya and Tsunade looked over to Naruto and flinched at the cold look in his eyes. Eyes which flashed red as he clenched his fists. I had godparents all this time. So, his darkness has awakened. Perhaps it's time I step up his teaching so that he is prepared in the future. Fukui thought. Shizune, who held Tauntaun, looked at Tsunade in shock as she was never told about this. Tsunade, she asked with a shaky breath. Why did you abandon Minato and Kushina's child? Tsunade looked at Naruto and couldn't help but become saddened at the thought she could have given Naruto a better life. I was distraught, okay. First I lose Dan and Nawaki, then two figures I looked up to. The painful memories made the slug sage tear up. I just couldn't bear it anymore and left, though it seems I got caught up in my depression and failed to realize that both Minato and Kushina's souls rested within their child. Tears were now flowing out as she went to Naruto and bent to his level. Can you ever forgive me, Naruto? Inside, Naruto was torn. The amount of emotions which flowed out of his godmother showed that she still cared and wanted to make amends, but at the same time Naruto's anger conflicted and denied this outright. Luckily, Harumasa diffused the situation before it could get any worse. Give Naruto some time, Tsunade, he is still having an inner conflict with himself after yesterday's events. The same goes for you, Jiraiya. Fukui looked at his student and patted him on the shoulder. Go on and meditate back at our training ground, I will be there shortly. Naruto bowed and headed to the door, but before he left he gave one last glance at his godparents. Shaking his head with sadness, Naruto opened the door and silently closed it behind him. He didn't even care to hear Jiraiya try to console a distraught Tsunade. Eyes closed and puffing on his pipe to concentrate on the task at hand, Hiruzen began to think about what could be done to start making Konoha strong again. A couple minutes passed before the god of shinobi opened his eyes and looked at Tsunade, Shizune, and Tauntaun. You will now run the medical program, as the way it is run now leaves much to be desired. He then looked at Jiraiya. You will base your spy network here in Konoha from now on. Both of you will stay in the village unless important missions come about. Do I make myself clear? The Sannin nodded, their heads filled with ways of trying to get Naruto to forgive them. Although neither spoke, Hiruzen understood the simple gesture and dismissed them. However, Fukui decided to give some parting words. Tell me and I'll forget, show me and I may remember, involve me and I'll understand. Think about my words, Jiraiya, Tsunade, good day. Harumasa bowed to the Sannin and the Hokage before going back to Naruto's lesson for the day. Speaking of which, as Naruto walked to the training ground, a voice in the back of his head spoke up. Take a hold of your anger, use it, destroy those around you, let me free. Naruto shook his head and looked around as he thought he heard someone. In seeing that nobody else heard a thing, Naruto shrugged and kept on walking towards his destination. All the while, a beast with 9 tails grinned evilly in his cage, as did a black silhouette who was in one of the dark recesses of Naruto's mind. The shadow figure's eyes glowed red, and then it began to chuckle evilly, knowing that he was finally awake. Time skip. Almost a full year has passed since Naruto started his samurai training. His training with his senses, which took 2 months per exercise, was complete. After successfully meditating while dodging stones, Naruto was given earplugs and told to use those with the blindfold. Although it was difficult as he couldn't rely on sound, Naruto soon learned to use his sense of touch with some key sensing in order to dodge the stones. The process continued as nose plugs were added and, instead of dodging rocks, he had to successfully capture an animal. In this case it was Tora, the daimyo's wife cat. As much as Naruto hated that cat, he enjoyed the money he got from doing so. This money, however, he did not keep as he already had plenty thanks to his parents. It was donated to the orphanage and for repairs to the red light district in Konoha. From this, the villagers began to see Naruto for who he truly was, which made both Naruto and Fukui proud. The final part of the senses training was the most difficult, as Naruto had to meditate and nullify any feelings whilst dodging stones. Naruto quickly recognized that this leg of the training was to build endurance and the pain threshold for when the time came for his first samurai fight. As this part of the training came to a close, Naruto was introduced to Aikido, the samurai style of taijutsu. It was then he realized how brutal his master could be. By the end of each training session, Naruto was admitted to the hospital for broken bones and internal injuries. Tsunade tried to scold Hirumasa about being too harsh, but that quickly backfired as the samurai used sage-like advice to tell the slug sage why he was doing so. Aikido was more of a defensive taijutsu which revolved around throws, but it was deadly, as once an enemy was down, a killing blow could be struck using a katana. Naruto learned both aspects of Aikido, the receiving end and the attacking end. While receiving blows, Naruto was taught to be calm and flexible in the off-balance positions which the attacker put him in. Naruto was also trained to regain his balance and cover any vulnerabilities while on the receiving end. When the time came to switch to where Naruto attacked Fukui, he was taught to use position and timing to keep the receiver off balance and vulnerable. Although Naruto was far from mastering this technique, as evident by the broken bones he had after every spar, it would prepare him when the time came to learn Muzojikuden Aishinryu. With each strike resembling a thrust and/or cut from a katana, Fukui knew that Naruto would quickly start to pick up his kenjutsu style. Currently, we find our master and student headed over to the Nara compound for Naruto's next lesson, strategy. Master, is a game of shogi really going to help me? I've been doing what you asked, I know my stuff from the books I read. Naruto questioned with a slight pout. Fukui shook his head with a smile. You may read and retain, my student, but until it is put into practice nothing will ever be mastered. You know not of the horrors which comes about when war strikes, how it pains the heart to kill a person dear to you, to kill a fellow samurai which has been by your side for what seemed like an eternity. Naruto became worried for his master after hearing the sad tone in which he spoke. Is that why you are a retired samurai, master? Fukui simply smiled and patted Naruto's head. It's in the past now, but the memories still haunt me to this day. Naruto decided to not go further after seeing his master's eyes. They were filled with sorrow, pain, and above all, loneliness. Just like the ones he had before taking up the path of the warrior. Fukui looked at Naruto and internally sighed as he saw himself in the boy. You don't know how much you remind me of my younger self, Naruto. I was once a carefree child like you, always questioning the unknown until Mifune guided me onto the right path. Like you, I trained hard, studied hard, and then that fateful day came. Hirumasa took a deep breath and wondered how Naruto would react when he took his first kill. To kill is to lose your innocence, to kill is only the first step in becoming a true samurai, one that uses death as their advisor. Keep that innocence until you feel ready, my student. It didn't take long for Naruto and Fukui to arrive at the compound, but as they arrived they were greeted warmly then escorted to Shikaku's home. After the guard knocked on the door, it opened to reveal a smiling Yoshino Nara, Shikaku's wife. "Ah, Uzumaki-san, Harumasa-san, my husband said we would be expecting you. Please, come in." Said persons bowed and entered the home but not before taking their sandals off and placing them by the door. As they entered, Yoshino asked if they wanted any tea, which both accepted graciously. Naruto looked around the home and smiled, then began to wonder if this is how it was like to live with parents. Sensing the distress, Fukui put a reassuring hand on Naruto's shoulder then motioned to the nearby table. Naruto nodded and followed his master, where both sat beside each other in the Seiza position and began to mediate. It was this sight which Shikaku came in on. To think Minato's boy would be so calm, how troublesome. Though I cannot help but feel happy for the kid as he finally is gaining the recognition he deserves. The clan head thought proudly, then proceed to join the two, though he decided against the meditation. For Yoshino, who just came back with the tea, was shocked at how calm Naruto and his master was. Quickly shaking it off, she set both the cups and saucers on the table in front of them, which they thanked her for, meditation not breaking in the slightest. An act which baffled the two Naras completely. After a couple minutes, Shikaku cleared his throat, which brought the two out of their meditation. "Harumasa-san, you wish to discuss matters with me?" Said person took a sip of his tea and smiled. "Yes, I wish for my student to come here after his training every day to learn how to play shogi with your boy. Not only will this help his strategic skills, but his social skills as well." As Shikaku looked over at Naruto, who was sipping his tea and staying calm, he couldn't help but wonder where the old Naruto went. Troublesome, but I suppose it is for the best. Shikaku stood and motioned for Naruto to follow. "Come Naruto, I will introduce you to my son, Shikamaru." Naruto looked at Fukui while he set his teacup down. "May I be excused, Master Harumasa?" Fukui simply nodded. "Thank you, Master." With that, Naruto stood and followed Shikaku while Yoshino looked at the retired samurai with a quizzical glance. "How did you get Minato's boy to be so calm? To think, only a year ago he was running around and trying to gain everyone's attention." The old man smiled and took another sip of his tea. Once the cup was set back in the saucer, Fukui shrugged. "I may be his master, but what Naruto has become is of his own volition. Mifune, my master, once said that the art of living does not consist in preserving and clinging to a particular mood of happiness, but in allowing happiness to change its form without being disappointed by the change, for happiness, like a child, must be allowed to grow up." Yoshino scratched her head as she tried to digest the wise words presented to her, but nothing came up. With a huff, she crossed her arms and headed back to the kitchen to start another pot of tea just in case. "Stupid samurai and their sage-like proverbs," Yoshino muttered, which made Fukui shake his head in mirth. Shikamaru opened his bedroom door after hearing his father's voice on the other side. However, he blinked in surprise at the sight of a calm Naruto. The expression quickly left as Shikaku started to explain what Naruto's master had wanted him to do. Like the typical Nara, Shikamaru chalked the whole thing up as troublesome, but let Naruto in nonetheless. As the bedroom door closed, Shikaku headed back downstairs to give the kids their privacy. As Shikamaru was setting up the shogi board, he decided to engage in some small talk. "I like watching clouds. What's your hobby?" Naruto thought about the question and quickly realized one thing. "I don't really have one, as I basically train most of the time." Shikamaru stopped and looked at Naruto, and, in a tired voice, stated, "Samurai are so troublesome, but you should really think about getting a hobby." Naruto nodded in thanks and decided to file that memory so he could ask Fukui later. After a brief period of awkward silence, Naruto changed topics. "So," Naruto said as he looked at the shogi board. "How do you play shogi? I've read about it in the library, but never have I tried to play it." Shikamaru sighed and began to explain how the game worked. Although it took 5 minutes, the two soon started to play. The first 3 games were quick with Shikamaru winning, but the next 2, however, made Shikamaru nervous as he almost lost. Although aggravated at not winning, Naruto remembered his master's lesson on patience and decided against quitting. Game after game, Naruto steadily improved to the point where Shikamaru was taking longer when choosing his moves. Amid small talk between games, Naruto and Shikamaru friendship started to bloom. One which blossomed after 3 hours had passed and the last game was played. "Checkmate," Shikamaru said with a grin. Naruto looked at the board and began to analyze the game. It was here Naruto realized that he didn't cover his right flank, a move which would kill him in actual battle. With a grin of his own, Naruto extended his hand, which the Nara shook. "Great game, I almost had you that time. Perhaps we can try again tomorrow?" Shikamaru nodded and started to put the game away. "Sure, besides, it's troublesome to find good opponents in the academy." Naruto stood and bowed in respect. "Thank you, Shikamaru-san." As the clan heir stood to put the game back on the bookshelf behind him, he looked Naruto in the eyes. "Just call me Shika from now on." Shikamaru shrugged. "All my troublesome friends do it." Naruto understood the meaning, and he couldn't be more elated as Shikamaru was his first true friend. Following morning. Like every morning, Naruto arrived at his master's shop and was ready for today's training. As he stepped inside the shop, the bell jingling overhead, he saw Fukui come from the back room with a certain smile on his face. Naruto knew that smile well as it promised pain. "Good news, my student, after the Hokage and I discussed how well you were doing, he approved you to start some D-rank missions. Today, you are helping a farmer plant his crops." Naruto looked at his kimono with a worrisome glance. "Shouldn't I change into something else so my kimono won't get dirty?" Fukui gasped in fake shock. "Ah! You are absolutely correct, how silly of me." Harumasa turned and grabbed samurai armor off the shelf that would fit his student, and placed it on the counter. "You will be working with that on all day, and after your mission we will continue your Aikido training. Now go on, daylight's a-wasting." "Me and my big mouth," Naruto mumbled, which made Fukui chuckle. Once dressed in his armor, which resembled that of Hashirama's, he and Harumasa set off to do today's task. Once there, the farmer greeted them and was about to hand Naruto tools to work, but Fukui stopped the client in his tracks. "My student needs no tools, he will be doing his task by hand." The farmer was shocked and looked at the Uzumaki heir in worry. "Are you sure, sir, he is but a young child?" "Ah, but he is a child of hard work and a samurai in training." Fukui looked at Naruto with a smile. "Go on, Naruto, do your assigned task." Naruto sighed and decided not to argue. He headed to the nearby field and began to plow the rows by hand. As the arduous task progressed, Naruto's hands cramped, his fingernails broke off and bled, but not once did he flinch in pain or complain. It was a sight which took the old farmer off guard. "Shouldn't you be helping your student Harumasa-san?" the farmer asked. Said person shook his head and motioned to Naruto, which signaled to watch and see. Out in the field, Naruto looked at his bloodied hands as he took a small break. The sight of which made him more determined than ever before. "The work may be hard, but with this blood, I vow that I will never stray from the warrior's path. My cup is still empty, I have much more to learn. Your master is deceiving you, he hates you, he will betray you when the time comes. Use my power, take your revenge, set me free." Naruto shook his head and scrunched his brow in confusion. What was that voice? Never mind that, back to work. The shadow figure looked at the beast in front of him and chuckled. "You can try to sway your container's mind, Kyubi, but the time will come where his mind is shattered enough for us to take over." Kyubi snarled and smashed his tails about the cage. "I am a beast of untold destruction, I have no sense of patience, I will make my container see the errors of his ways." The shadow figure shrugged his shoulders and started back to his place in Naruto's mind. "And it is because of your impatience that you have been sealed for over 50 years. The Kyubi's angered roar is all that could be heard as the figure went back to his domain. Naruto wiped the sweat from his brow and stood while arching his back, which produced a few cracks, making Naruto smile. It took 5 hours, but the massive field was plowed, planted, and watered. The farmer was impressed with his work and congratulated Naruto on a job well done when he came to greet his master. The client was even more impressed when Naruto told him to keep the money and put it towards those in need or the orphanage. As master and student left for the training ground, Fukui sensed a figure disappear. one that has been following his student for almost a year now. Rude base. Danzo tapped his cane on the floor in slight impatience as he waited for his agent to give the report on Naruto. As of now, the Warhawk was slightly worried as Naruto was improving leaps and bounds, though he dismissed these as Danzo was never one to trust samurai. To make it worse, Sai suddenly disappeared, which made the root leader wonder if he was the mole all along. The more Danzo thought about it, the more it was a possibility that something happened on the Iron Country mission. Such a mission was omitted from the report Sai gave Hiruzen. A Shunshin, however, interrupted him from his thoughts. Report! The Warhawk ordered. The agent kneeled, his emotionless tone echoing off the damp stone walls. Danzo-sama, Naruto has continued his training, but I fear that his master has sensed us all this time. Danzo raised an eyebrow, and do you have proof of this? No sir, it's just a hunch. Danzo narrowed his eyes and turned his back to his agent. I see the seals removed from your person thanks to Jiraiya has given you some emotion, a disgrace, but I cannot do anything to you as Hiruzen watches my every move. Continue your task, our time will come. Hi Danzo-sama. As the agent left, Danzo's worry returned as if Hirumasa could detect his agents. What of Naruto? Bah, I am simply overthinking. Detected or not, Konoha will be under my thumb soon enough. Training ground. Naruto sent a fist towards his master, whom caught it effortlessly. Fukui then used his shoulder to lift Naruto and sent him to the ground. Luckily, Naruto twisted in mid-flight and managed to stay upright, both hands were free. Again Naruto attacked but made a feint with his right fist and sent his left towards Hirumasa's stomach for a quick jab, but it never connected. His master caught the fist with both hands, then brought a knee into Naruto's stomach. The armor caved in from the blow but saved him from getting out of breath. It was here that Naruto was put on the defensive. Naruto rolled under a punch and tried to kick out his master's legs, but it was for naught as Fukui jumped over them. Naruto flipped back to his feet and caught a punch in his hand and attempted to throw his master over his shoulder. Hirumasa countered by using his strength to break out of the block in order to grab Naruto's outstretched hand to break it. Naruto saw darkness shortly after hearing his bone snap thanks to Fukui's fist impacting his face, which broke his nose. The old samurai caught Naruto before he could hit the ground and looked at the boy in his arms with a smile. Although it was a quick 5-minute spar, it showed just how much Naruto had improved. Rest easy my student, for tomorrow is a brand new day. With that, Hirumasa carried Naruto bridal style to the hospital. He knew it wouldn't be long until Naruto was able to take the long journey to Iron Country, though had a feeling in his stomach, a feeling that a storm was approaching. A storm which would be the catalyst for change, a storm that would change his student forever and turn him into what he was meant to become. Chapter 3 Arc 1. The sun was setting in Konoha and everyone was about to head home to rest, though if one passed a certain training ground they would hear a muffled thump. A strange sound, but if one were to search for it they would find Naruto Uzumaki punching trees with his bare fists and kicking them with his bare feet while Fukui watched on with a smile. It has been 6 months, and Naruto was improving at an astonishing rate. Thanks to his improved diet, he was the size of a normal 8-year-old, though mentally was a different story due to the amount of reading Naruto has had to do. These 6 months were brutal for Naruto as he trained to bring out and maintain his ki in order to do a multitude of tasks. Improve his speed, increase the strength of his aikido, how to detect targets around him and when they would strike, among other techniques while meditating. Countless broken bones, concussions, and trips to the hospital was the common occurrence for those months, but with every beating Naruto never faltered. He learned from his mistakes and started the path on knowing thyself. Fukui told Naruto, however, that to completely know thyself a great deal of emotional anguish had to occur. Currently, Naruto's eyes were in a hardened glare as he continued his aikido katas on the tree in front of him. Every time a punch or kick landed, some of the bark peeled off as ki was added to each strike. Many hours had passed since Naruto started, but now Fukui had seen enough. You may stop my student, it has been a tiring day but you have improved far beyond my imagination. Fukui said in a sage-like tone. Keep improving like this, our trip to Iron Country may be sooner than we thought. Naruto smiled and wiped the sweat off his brow before he turned and bowed to his master. Hi Master Harumasa, I look forward to traveling as well as meeting the one you call Master. Naruto scratched his chin, a habit he picked up recently when thinking or confused. Do you think your master can train me? The retired samurai shrugged, then ruffled Naruto's hair, which made the blonde chuckle. Perhaps, my student, but tell me. Do you feel that in the air, a feeling of foreboding, the winds of change? Naruto looked at Harumasa quizzically, then closed his eyes and calmed his senses like he was taught. After a few minutes he opened them and frowned. Why does my ki feel off? It feels sad and distant. In the air, a feeling of foreboding, the winds of change? That is what is called a warrior's intuition. Fukui frowned and laid a reassuring hand on Naruto's left shoulder. A change is coming that we can feel, though we cannot pinpoint the exact time said change will occur. Harumasa then bent to Naruto's level and smiled at him, his eyes filled with warmth. Remember to always follow this intuition, my student. Use it to better prepare, and above all, use it to save the ones you care about. Promise me this. Naruto's eye showed determination and he nodded fiercely. Hi Master, it will be done. Fukui stood up and pushed his student towards the Konoha gates. Go now, you earned a good night's rest. After Naruto thanked him, he started to walk home. As he was doing so, Fukui sensed the figure, who had been watching for so long, getting ready to move. Without a sound, the retired samurai appeared in front of the blank-masked Anbu with a carefree smile on his face. I didn't even see him move, thought the Anbu as he backed up in shock, almost falling off the tree branch he was in. Do tell your master that whatever he has planned will not come to pass. Your master's oversight has led to their plight, and in turn, that oversight will lead to their downfall. Fukui disappeared again, but this time he was behind the Anbu and in the process of sheathing his katana. Once the blade was locked into the sheath, the Anbu screamed in pain and held the stump where his right arm used to be. Think of that as payment for continuing to follow your master, one which blinds you to the truth you cared not to see. The Anbu left in a shunshin, which made Harumasa smile. He knew his student was ready to take the next step. After all, the winds of change were fast approaching. Root Base, Danzo's office. Danzo was waiting for his daily report and became worried as the agent was later than usual. That worry soon turned into anger and, although the war hawk wouldn't admit it, some fear as he saw his agent missing his arm. What is this meaning of this? The agent held his bleeding stump as he stuttered out his report. Danzo-sama, I'm sorry, but Harumasa found me. He told me that your plan would not see come to pass. He knows, Danzo-sama, he knows. The agent paused to think about Fukui's words. Is this plan worth it, Danzo-sama? Is this really for the benefit of the village? Danzo snarled and slammed his cane on the ground, which made the bottom fall off, and the hidden blade appear. You dare question my motives? It was here the retired samurai's words started to come to him, and he started to believe the old samurai. The agent had made his choice. Why yes, and my death will only signal the end to your vile ways. I will meet you in hell, Danzo, meet you in. The agent could not get anything else out as Danzo quickly beheaded the man, then spat on the corpse before he ordered his loyal agents to clean up the mess. Take this filthy trash away from my sight, make sure his remains are never found. Two agents bowed and did as told, no words said, just actions of two ever-loyal followers. Danzo turned to his desk. A map of Konoha was on it with red circles and troop routes marked in red pen. So, Harumasa knew all along someone was watching Naruto. Danzo said, then scoffed. No matter, he knows not of my final plan. Oh yes, with the Uchiha massacred and the Jinchuriki along with them, the roots will spring from the ground and take over the great tree. As Danzo sat at his desk, he failed to notice a black rat scurry out of his room, which escaped using the shadows. A couple minutes later, Sai let the rat bleed out onto an empty scroll which produced a report for him. After reading it, he turned to face the 250x route behind him. All were sitting in an abandoned part of the base. We have played Danzo's game for far too long. Sai started. Now that you have been unsealed and saw who the man really was, you vowed, like me, to end the Warhawk's vile ways. And now, Sai held up the scroll with a smile. Now, we have the proof to do what we please without repercussion. But shouldn't we inform Hokage-sama about this? An ex-agent spoke up with concern. Sai shook his head, a good question, but no, as that would lead Danzo to knowing of our plans. Who knows where Danzo's eyes and ears are at? The ex-agents started to mutter in agreement, which made Sai smile. So, I ask you, my comrades, when the time comes, are we ready to do what we have sought for so long? Freedom, the will of fire burns in all. The agents chorused with Sai finishing for them. And with our rebellion, the root shall fall. With Naruto. After Naruto got home, he didn't have the energy to walk upstairs to the master bedroom. He staggered over to the family room couch, promptly fell upon it and went to sleep. However, he was not asleep for long as he woke in a strange place, a sewer of all things. The place was lit with torches, but they didn't give off enough light, which kept the room dim. Pipes which traced parts of the ceiling occasionally dripped led to one place, a massive cage with a seal on it. Naruto paused as he looked at the cage and instantly knew where he was. So, I'm in my mindscape. Now I know those books said I could change this. Naruto imagined a lush meadow with rolling green hills, many flowers and trees where birds chirped and animals scampered about. Sadly, nothing happened, which left Naruto confused. Before he could ponder further, a deep chuckle from the cage grabbed his attention. Darkness still resides in you, mortal. The creature said with a slight growl. Come on, don't you want to take revenge on those that glare at you, whisper behind your back? Just rip the seal, go on. Let me free. The last three words made Naruto's eyes widen. Why, you're that voice in my head. Wait, the only one I know that is inside me is. The Kyuubi presented himself by first showing his glowing red, feral eyes, followed by his massive head, massive canines and all. That's right, boy. Kyuubi interrupted. I am the great Kyuubi no Kitsune, the one who killed your pathetic parents, the one who you will set free. At first, Naruto didn't know what to do, but after a deep, calming breath, Naruto walked up to the cage and looked at the bijou without fear. His eyes, much like Fukui's, were emotionless. You hold a lot of hatred, Kyuubi, hatred which can be tamed. Though seeming that you are a constant nag when it comes to wanting to be free, you lack patience. The Kyuubi slammed his head into the bars, but Naruto didn't falter. Patience is something I do not have, I am a beast of destruction, untold devastation. Why don't you come into my cage and find out, puny mortal? I'll pass, thank you. Naruto said with a smirk. However, that smirk left as Naruto started to pace back and forth while humming a small tune. About a minute later, he stopped and looked the bijou in the eyes again. Your hatred is misplaced, Kyuubi, you loathe humanity simply because you have been sealed ever since Madara took control of you long ago. You will find that I am not like your previous containers. I will chat with you, I will make you feel wanted, and I will do what I must to earn your recognition even if it kills me. Clapping was heard to the right, which made Naruto turn to see himself, but with red glowing eyes and fawn-like teeth. Oh bravo my other half, bravo. Truly a remarkable speech, but as you can tell, Kyuubi is quite the stubborn beast. The being motioned behind him to a door with black chains. Would you care to come to my domain to chat, as this beast before us is such an annoyance? Naruto looked at his other half, which spoke in a slight guttural tone, with a calm visage. Other half, may I ask who you really are? The other Naruto grinned, his red eyes glowed briefly before they settled back to its original state. Yami, at your service. He bowed, then started to walk towards Naruto. You will be seeing me again, I assure you. When your mind is weak, when your mind is ready to snap, I will show you what it means to take revenge, to show what Kyuubi has been wanting for so long. The sudden crash and bang of Kyuubi thrashing his tails against and about the cage made Naruto look towards the beast, which gave Yami ample time to do what he wanted to do. Naruto, now knowing he was distracted, tried to defend himself but to no avail. Yami grinned evilly as he grasped onto Naruto's head, which allowed childhood memories of the villagers' stares and hate to replay. Before it could get worse, Naruto kicked his other half, which sent him into the nearby wall. Although planted firmly into the stone, not a scratch was on Yami's form. In fact, the evil half even began to laugh at the slight pain he felt. Even more so when Naruto shook his head in the hopes of getting the memories out of his head. Yami eventually stopped his maniacal cackling to pull himself from the wall. "This is only the beginning, my other half," Yami said as he started to disappear into what looked like black pieces of ash. "You will see that revenge is the way, you will see that darkness is always the way to go. And maybe, Kyuubi, you will be free of that cage." After watching Yami leave, Naruto shook his head once again before looking at the bijou in front of him with his arms crossed. "You will not fool me, the villagers know their sins." "Ah, but that is what they want you to think. You are still that demon brat in their eyes, and I'm your key to salvation," Kyuubi said, a feral smirk forming. "Last chance, let me free or face what will be your future." Naruto had enough and disappeared from his mindscape. However, as he left, both beings inside his head made a silent vow. They would try alright, and they would make sure that Naruto bent to their will. The morning soon came, and so began Naruto's morning routine. He went out to the backyard and meditated in the small garden that he planted. Naruto knew what happened last night wasn't a dream, and also knew that in order to defeat his other half, a calm mind was needed. No distractions, nothing. "You're only fooling yourself, mortal. The more you try, the more we push, the closer to the edge you go. You will fall, and nobody will be there to catch you." Kyuubi tried to manipulate Naruto but said person would not have it. "I was going to be nice, Kyuubi, but you forced my hand. Until you wish to cooperate, these chains will be a reminder that in my mind I reign supreme." Much like Kushina Uzumaki's own, chains quickly wrapped around the Kyuubi's tails and legs, then pulled taut, which slammed the bijou into the wet, stone floor. A locking sound was heard, followed by the agonized roars of the mighty bijou. The more Kyuubi struggled, the more times the wet fox got shocked. "Curse you, mortal! I will find a way out of these chains, and once I do." Kyuubi left the threat hang, but Naruto wasn't worried. After another 10 minutes of meditation without any interruptions, Naruto stood and walked inside to fix himself some breakfast. Afterward, he brushed his teeth, then got into his normal clothes. The last thing Naruto did before he headed to Haruma's Emporium was to affix his Bakken on the right side. Haruma's Emporium. The bell jingled, which signaled that Naruto had arrived. Not long after, the old samurai walked to the front of the store and sensed a disturbance within Naruto. He knew what had happened. "So, I see your dark side has finally come to speak with you," Haruma sadly stated. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck and chuckled nervously before he began in a stoic tone, "Hi, but why so sad, master? I calmly chatted with Kyuubi, had a small encounter with my Yami side, then this morning I chained up the nagging fox with my mother's chakra chains." Haruma blinked his eyes in shock before he started laughing. After a while, he got himself under control and laid one of his callus-filled hands on Naruto's shoulders with a smile. "You never cease to amaze me, my student," the retired samurai happily stated. "How about some tea before we start the next step of your training?" Naruto looked at Fukui in shock, the tea all but forgotten. "You mean that dash?" "Yes, my student, you will finally start to learn my sword style," Fukui interrupted with a nod. "I do admit it is early to teach you, but then again I have pushed you beyond even how I was trained." "Why?" Naruto scratched his chin. "My student, you are the person that will change this world for the better, but first you must know thyself. It will be a long journey for you, but so long as you remember my teachings, that journey will be filled with adventure and self-fulfillment." Fukui responded, then started towards the door. "Enough chat, let's get some tea." Master and students smiled as they walked out of the store and down the street to get to the tea shop. As they walked, Naruto took in the happy gazes he got as well as the warm feeling their ki gave off. Kyuubi couldn't help but snarl as it was a major blow to his and Yami's manipulation scheme. Training ground. The time at the tea shop was wonderful, though Anko decided to pay them a visit shortly after they sat down. Although Naruto has been around the village a lot, the snake mistress was still shocked at how much he had changed. Naruto quickly reassured her that the old Naruto was in there somewhere. With a seductive smile followed by a kiss on the cheek, Anko wished Naruto good luck in his training before she went to the counter, grabbed her dango, and skipped away. Fukui couldn't keep his laughter in check after watching Naruto hold the cheek Anko kissed. A blush that would make a certain Hyuga proud was on his face. Not long after this, both master and student finished their tea and left for the training grounds. However, as they left, Shikaku and Inoichi saw them, which made the two clan heads look at each other with smirks on their faces. With a nod, both went to return home, knowing what they must do. Once they were at the training ground, Fukui told Naruto to sit in the Saiza position, then started to explain his sword style. Musojikuden Ishin Ryu, a sword style based on Iaido, has two sets of techniques in which you must master before learning the more advanced ones. The first are what is known as the Saiza no Biyu, while the second are called Tadahisa no Biyu. For now, we will focus on Saiza. Why teach Saiza first when you are likely to be standing when facing an enemy? Don't we just barge in and attack? Naruto said while scratching his chin in thought. That is the shinobi way of battle, not ours, my student. Fukui instructed. We are samurai, and as such we uphold Bushido and thus plan our attacks carefully. Some even happening whilst having a nice cup of green tea with a hint of jasmine. After a moment of thought, clarity finally came through, which brought a smile to Harumasa's face. I see, that is why you told me to work on my ki sensing. The retired samurai nodded, then went into what the Saiza no Biyu entailed. There were 11 total techniques. Mei or forward is when you sense the harmful intentions of an opponent whom is sitting in front of you. Before they strike, you cut them between the arm and the face. Mijai or right is when an opponent sits to your left and faces the same direction as you. Again, before they strike you cut them between the arm and face. Hidari or left is when an opponent sits to your right and faces the same direction as you. The strike is like that in Mei or Mijai. Ushiro or back is when an opponent sits behind you and is facing the same direction as you. The strike is like that in Mei or Mijai. Yagaki or 8 multiple barriers is when the opponent is in front of you. This technique has multiple cuts. The first is inadequate, so you move after the opponent as they are falling backwards and cut them down. As this cut does not kill and they try to cut your shin while on the ground, you counter said cut and defeat them. Yukinagashi or reviving and praying is when an opponent attacks from your left, but you parry and cut down on their neck and or shoulder. Kaishiku or seconds is when the opponent is seated about 2 meters in front of you and is face left. You cut their neck when they commit seppuku. Tsukakomi is when an opponent attacks from the front, but you avoid said attack by stepping back as to parry. The first cut is inadequate, you move forwards towards the opponent as they fall backwards, then cut them down. Tsukikage or moonlight is when an opponent is to your right. Just as they are about to attack from the Joden position, you cut into both of their forearms, the opponent falls backwards while you move forwards to cut them down. Oikase or pursuit is just that, you give chase to your cowardly opponent and cut them down. Nukiuchi or suddenly is when you sense the harmful intentions of the opponent sitting in front of you and cut them down. As each was discussed, Fukui showed Naruto the right way to do so, but in slow motion. He also mentioned that when it came to frontal assaults and standing techniques, the sword positions would be taught. For the rest of the day, Naruto practiced each kata in between physical exercises. Exercises which were done once Naruto waits for his wrists and ankles. As he was putting them on, Fukui told him that he was never to take them off until he was recognized as a full-fledged samurai. Our blonde-haired protagonist understood and quickly got to work. By the end of the day, Naruto had a good grasp on the first techniques, but he knew that he had a long way to go until they were mastered. Following morning. Like every morning, Naruto arrived at Harumasa's emporium, but as he entered he saw another person talking to his master. A person who he has become great friends with ever since playing shogi with Shikamaru. Naruto bowed in respect. Shikako-san, a pleasure to meet you again. No need to be so formal, Naruto. However, I guess it can't be helped with your choice of profession, troublesome. The clan head muttered at the end, then quickly waved his hand in the air. Anyways, my son wishes to have another match with you sometime. He says you have become a most troublesome opponent. Shika's still on about me beating him last weekend? The clan head smiled. Of course, it would be too troublesome not to. After all, not many can boast saying they beat a Nara at their own game. Naruto lightly blushed. It was all strategy, Shikaku-san. Like my master said, expect nothing, be prepared for anything. Fukui nodded at the words his student spoke. However, it also reminded him of something long overdue. Naruto, Shikaku has graciously invited us to dinner with the rest of the clan heads, so training is cancelled today. What I do want you to do is see your godparents. Naruto sighed and brought his right hand down his face. Ever since meeting them in the Hokage office that day, Naruto avoided Jiraiya and Tsunade as well as any attempt they made at trying to get at his good side. It put the two Sannin in a really sad state. Naruto, it's been a little over a year, go to them, give them a chance. Fukui, seeing his student's demeanor, shook his head with a frown. That glass of yours has cracked ever since that day, my student, and now you must fix it before the water rushes out. Naruto currently found the floor interesting, but he couldn't help but agree with his master's sage-like advice. Perhaps you are right, master, with my dark side continuing to make attempts, that crack will only grow. If it shatters, I will lose everything I have gained. Naruto bowed to the two adults, then left. As he did so, Shikaku raised an eyebrow at Harumasa. Almost 8 years old, yet he talks like an adult, troublesome. The elder samurai chuckled, then leaned on the nearby counter. It's amazing what one can learn from reading the library since age 6, any? The Nara clan head eyes widened. What? You had him read the entire library? Fukui nodded. Hi, but he is far from finished. As he turned around to take down a piece of armor to polish, he gave one last look at the clan head. Take what my student said to heart, Shikaku-san, expect nothing, be prepared for anything. With that, the samurai grabbed the armor and went to the back of the store, Shikaku leaving not long after, shock still present in his mind. With Naruto, hospital. Naruto walked up to the receptionist in the hospital and asked to speak to Tsunade. With an infectious smile, she happily escorted him to the Slug Sage's office. Once at the door, Naruto bowed and thanked the receptionist before he knocked on the door. Who is it? An irritated voice said on the other side. It's me, your godson. Naruto sighed. The sound of someone getting up was heard, followed by a thump and some vulgarities before the door opened violently. There, Tsunade stood with a red mark on her forehead and sad-looking eyes. As Naruto peered inside the Spartan-like office, he noticed the 3 empty sake bottles on the desk and closed his eyes in sadness. I never thought pushing them away would do so much harm. Look, Tsunade-san, I know we got off to a bad start, but dash. Before he could even finish, Tsunade dragged Naruto inside the office and closed the door, where he was quickly engulfed in a hug. One which he couldn't help but blush as Tsunade's assets pressed into his face. They broke apart soon after, both having a slight smile on their face. I stand by my words that I said at the Hokage office over a year ago, Gaki. I know you may never fully forgive me for my actions, and I will accept that. Tsunade said as she sat down at the desk and picked up an empty sake bottle. After she waved it around a bit, Tsunade's eyes settled on Naruto once again. I thought I would give this stuff up, but after drowning my sorrows in this for so long dash. Tsunade sighed again and dropped the bottle back on the desk. Seeing her this way tore at Naruto's heartstrings. She betrayed you, why not release the seal? And the chains in the cage rattled and shocked the bijou. Arg! You will silence yourself, Kyubi, you will be free of your hate someday, I promise you that. Naruto cut the connection shortly after that and smiled at his godmother. Tsunade, godmother, you are correct saying that I can never fully forgive you, but that doesn't mean we have to go our separate ways. Naruto walked to the desk and pushed the sake bottles into the nearby trash, one breaking with a shattering sound. What I'm trying to say is, why not help each other? I help you cure that sake addiction while you teach me something that will help me on my future journey to Iron Country. You remind me so much of Dan and Nawaki. Tsunade smiled at her godson, then stood from her desk and motioned towards the door. Come, it's time we meet Jiraiya so that he can teach you as well. Knowing samurai, we cannot teach you any shinobi-based skills, but there is one thing that we can help you with. Naruto quirked an eyebrow, and what's that? Tsunade ruffled Naruto's hair, to learn how to fight against someone like us. Naruto's eyes sparkled with anticipation. For years, he had always sparred with Fukui, but now he would finally see how much shinobi fighting differed from his own. The gleam in Naruto's eyes made the slug sage shed a few tears as she knew that things were starting to look up. She finally got her godson back. With Jiraiya. Like Tsunade, sake bottles littered the desk while the floor was littered with various papers. Dark circles were under Jiraiya's eyes, signifying that he had little to no sleep, that and his red puffy eyes. He knew how much he failed Naruto and, after over a year of being avoided, it took its toll. When the Toads asked why Jiraiya was so glum last year, he reluctantly told them. Although being extremely pissed to the point that they threatened to break the contract, Jiraiya somehow convinced them otherwise. "How can I hope to make everything up to you, Naruto?" the sage thought as he looked at the bottle of rice alcohol in his hands. The Sannin gulped the rest of the sake in the bottle, then dropped it on his desk, his head following soon after. Although in a drunken stupor, Jiraiya didn't miss the knocking at his door. "Enter." The first to enter was Tsunade, but before the Toad Sage could speak he caught sight of his godson, which made his eyes light up in hope. For Naruto, he couldn't help but shake his head in disbelief. He had thought that Jiraiya couldn't be any worse, but apparently that was wrong on so many levels. "It's time to make amends, Godfather. Like I told Tsunade, I will help you if you help me in return." "Great. I can teach you your father's techniques and let you dash." "No. You must realize by now that I am a samurai, Godfather. I follow the path of the warrior, not the path of the shinobi," Naruto sternly interrupted. The Sannin spluttered and, in his drunken state, he tried to get Naruto to change his ways. After a couple minutes of this nonsense, Naruto had enough and nodded to Tsunade, who promptly took one of the sake bottles on the desk and smashed it over Jiraiya's head. Naruto covered his mouth in order to control the laughter that dared come out. For Tsunade, a smirk was on her face as she healed Jiraiya up and took the alcohol out of his system. Once the process was done, the Toad Sage woke up, this time with a clear head. "Thank you, Tsunadeheim," Jiraiya stated, then looked at his godson with a frown. "You will never forgive me, huh?" Naruto shrugged, "Not fully, but if you help me then maybe one day I will." The Toad Sage nodded, then looked at Tsunade for an answer. After a brief sigh, she told him that they would teach him how to fight a shinobi while he helped solve one of their problems. Jiraiya then made his usual pose and asked Naruto a simple question. "Will you help me write my Ikaika?" Naruto grew a tick mark as he knew what those books were after coming across one in the library. Come to find out, it was someone's hidden stash. Needless to say, Naruto promptly threw everyone in the trash. "Smut is what that is." "No, I will not help you write that. However, I have a better offer." Jiraiya sighed at first, but when the other offer came up, he was all ears. "Alright Gaki, shoot. I will help you in your spy network when I get the chance." The two Sannin thought over it and nodded in acceptance. Shortly afterward, Naruto was whisked away by his godparents to a training ground where his ordeal would begin. Meanwhile, two figures disappeared, one melted into the ground while the other left in a shunshin. Root base. The agent was kneeled in front of Danzo, and even though the seals were off, the agent's emotionless tone stayed. "As you feared, Danzo-sama, the boy has aligned himself with his godparents once again. Orders, sir?" Danzo clenched his fists and slammed them on the desk. "Damn. Now that makes 3 persons who watch Naruto at all times. There has to be a way to get to that brat." The agent looked at Danzo. The boy is alone as he walks the streets in the morning, Danzo-sama. The war hawk hummed, then smirked a little while later. Good, good. And with the amount of time he trains, this leaves us a wide window in which to operate." Danzo paused in thought. "Has Hiruzen become aware to our plan?" "Unknown, sir. Sai was the one who knew your inner secrets." Danzo nodded and looked at the plans in front of him. "Tomorrow morning we prepare and then the mighty tree will fall." "As you wish, Danzo-sama." With that, the agent bowed and left. Just as Danzo was about to lean back in his chair, he caught something out of the corner of his eye and quickly acted. What he stopped on turned to ink, which made him scowl. He now knew who the mole was. "You made the mistake of betraying me, Sai, and now you will see what happens to those who do." With a twitch of a finger, 40 root agents surrounded Danzo. They kneeled before their master. Bring Saitami, him, and I need to have a chat. The agents disappeared, which made the war hawk chuckle to himself. He had a feeling that even if his operation failed, Konoha would be weakened enough to where other villages could easily wipe them off the map. Somewhere in Iron Country, a figure floated up from the ground, just their head that is, so they could speak to the person they were working for. Said person was sitting on a log beside a small fire, remembering his past. The snowy environment in which he lived didn't faze him in the slightest. Have you located the boy? The person said, his tone was gruff and old-sounding. As per my master's requests, I have, and his training is going well. The boy looked tasty enough to eat. The other half of the figure interrupted. Ignore my other half. White Zetsu said. My master hopes you will uphold his end of the bargain. The person by the fire smirked and let out a small chortle before he stoked the fire with a nearby stick. Don't worry, I will do as asked, but I will wait to test the boy myself. Nifune was a misguided fool, and I will see to it that Iron Country becomes the country it is supposed to be. The figure sunk back into the ground, which made the person by the fire shake his head in mirth. An interesting character you are, Zetsu, most interesting indeed. The person then grinned evilly. Oh yes, I will enjoy testing the boy myself, perhaps I will take away what he holds so dear beforehand, but first. The person took a piece of paper out of his cloak followed by a pen and wrote a letter on it. Afterwards, he stood and went to his nearby tent for one thing in particular, a carrier pigeon. He took it out of the cage and put the small coded letter inside the small cylinder on the pigeon's leg before he let it fly towards its destination. As he watched it fly into the snowy skies, the man turned back to the fire and couldn't help but think about his past. Evening, Sarutobi clan home. All the clan heads and their children were gathered at the Hokage's home. For Shikamaru, he was actually looking forward to seeing the blonde samurai again, while the other clan children wondered why they were all gathered. For them, their parents only told that they would be going to a special dinner. However, little did they know that they were to meet the last of the Uzumaki line. As the guests mingled with each other, Hiruzen and his two students was in his private study with seals in place so that nobody would disturb them. Glad you two have started to make up with Naruto. How did he do in the spar, if I may ask? Tsunade smiled at Hiruzen's question. He refused to take his Bakken out on an ally even though we were in a spar. Other than that, he adapted really well on the underhand tactics the shinobi use. I agree. Jiraiya said, then scratched his head as he thought back to what Naruto told him. Still can't believe the Gakis read almost the entire Konoha library in a year and a half. Hiruzen choked on the smoke he just inhaled, but, after a brief coughing fit, it cleared. What? I know, it shocked us too when he told us. Tsunade stated, letting out a small chuckle at the end. Anyway, can we get to why we are here in the first place? The Sandaime cleared his throat once again, the smoke still in his lungs. Thanks to my spy en route, I have found that Danzo is attempting to start a coup of sorts but does not know who the targets will be. Currently, I have him on a long-term mission after I had a run-in with a few Root who broke into my home in the afternoon. It seems that Danzo found out about his mole problem. Tsunade and Jiraiya snickered at that but grew concerned, especially about one person in particular. What about Naruto, wouldn't he be the prime target? They voiced their concern, which made Hiruzen nod. Hi, that is likely the case, but with my personal ANBU watching him as well as Haruma Sadano, I know Danzo would not attempt a risky move on him. Tsunade felt relieved, but also knew what she had to do. I will keep the hospital on full alert, sensei, who knows what might happen. I will have my summons spread around Konoha, which will dispel if something comes up. Jiraiya calmly stated, as he knew the situation called for it. Hiruzen took the pipe from his mouth, dumped the old tobacco into a nearby ashtray, and put it back in his robes. All of this done with a grim smile. Do your tasks cautiously, I don't want Danzo to know we are on to him. Hi, sensei. With that, the Hokage was back to his cheerful self, deactivated the seals, then motioned towards the door. Shall we greet Naruto and our guests? The Sannin nodded and followed their sensei out of the study. What they saw as they got downstairs to the main floor was Naruto and Fukui surrounded by the clan heirs, each curious about the samurai lifestyle. It put a smile on their faces, even more so as they saw how uncomfortable Naruto was. Speaking of Naruto, he looked at the people around him and let a small smirk pass his calm and stoic facade. All the clan heirs are here. Hinata, Hanabi, Ino, Shikamaru, Choji, Shino, Kiba, Hana, and Sasuke. He spotted one kid who was sitting alone and began to wonder who that was. "Excuse me for a moment," Naruto politely asked as he pushed through the mass of people and walked up to the small child. He bent to his level and asked for his name. "Konoha Maru." Naruto smiled. "And why are you all by yourself, are you afraid?" The small Sarutobi nodded, then gasped as Naruto picked him up and was placed on Naruto's shoulders. "There, now you're not so small. And don't worry, I got you, there's no need to be afraid." Hiruzen watched from afar as his grandson grew the biggest smile on his face. It made the old man teary-eyed. "Naruto, you have no idea what you've done for him already. Everyone calls him the honorable grandson. Oh, how he hates that nickname." As Naruto mingled with the other clan heirs, Hayashi let a rare smile form on his face as he looked towards Tsume and the others. Hard to believe that kid in the formal kimono is Minato's son. Seems like yesterday the village hated him and was an orange, ramen-loving fool. Inoichi let out a small laugh as he watched Ino attempt to grab at Naruto's Bakken, which he calmly pushed her hand away. Of course, the Yamanaka heir blushed. Seems Naruto is going to be a real lady killer when he grows up. Tsume said, a small chuckle escaping at the end. Troublesome, but let's hope he isn't as dense when it comes to love. How many times did Kushina bug Minato? Shikaku retorted, which made some of the clan heirs laugh. Too many to count. The ever-silent Shibi spoke up and, with that, the clan heads stayed quiet for a while to watch Naruto and the others interact. Naruto answered each question he was given to the best of his knowledge, but became defensive when someone bumped into his Bakken. Shikamaru eventually came up and shook his friend's hand. "Nice to see you, Naruto." "You too, Shika." Both smiled at each other, but Naruto paused to reach up to his right shoulder and let a bug crawl on his finger. He looked at it, then pointed towards Shino. "I think this belongs to you, and, please, if you wish to find out more about me, just ask." Shino nodded as the bug returned to his body to give the information it recorded. "I meant no harm, Uzumaki-san. My hive was curious about your tenant's chakra." Naruto nodded and looked at the clan heirs. "So you really don't care about me housing the Kyuubi?" The clan heirs shook their heads, which made Naruto smile. "Good, perhaps we can train together sometime." Shikamaru quirked an eyebrow. Naruto, you are a samurai. What can you teach us?" Naruto shrugged. "Nothing really, as I'm not a master, but it does help me learn how to fight against your kind, and vice versa." "Sweet. I found new pack members." Kiba yelled out with his arms raised like he held some sort of prize. For Naruto, this was a major hurdle to overcome. He finally was accepted by his peers, something which Yami and Kyuubi were not fond of. Fukui, on the other hand, couldn't be more elated for his student. "Yet another step to knowing thyself. You will truly become better than I was, my student. You have so much potential left untapped." The rest of the evening was filled with food and merriment, though these joyous moments would soon turn to fear and confusion. After all, a storm was coming. And for one boy, the events to come would forever change his life. Chapter 4, Arc 1. The sky was dark, and rain began to fall on the blood-soaked ground. Soon, a clap of thunder was heard in the distance, whilst a flash of lightning illuminated a figure in a tattered Iron Country samurai outfit. A figure, whom held his katana out to the side, looked down at the fallen opponent by his feet with a sneer on his blood-stained face. "I am the master now, and nothing will stand in my way of revenge. I will be the one to change the samurai. I will be the one to conquer the elemental nations. No more Bushido, no more peace. The valleys will run red with the blood of my enemies, and the sky will weep as they realize the sins they have caused." The figure spat on his opponent as another flash of lightning illuminated the two. The one that stood victorious had long blonde hair which was set in a top knot, and cold blue eyes. "Goodbye, Harumasa. I do thank you for teaching me all you know. but alas I could not save myself from the darkness within. Naruto suddenly woke with a gasp and a cold sweat. He immediately palmed his face and took a few deep breaths to calm his heart rate before he got out of bed and went to the kitchen for a glass of cold water. Ah, did someone have a bad dream? Kyuubi taunted at the same time Yami laughed evilly. Naruto's face was set in a scowl as he gulped down the water. Completely ignoring the fur ball inside of him, Naruto set the cup down on the counter and headed to his meditation garden in the attempt of emptying his mind of the horrid dream he just had. Oh, so the silent treatment, Yami said with an evil grin as he tried to insert more nightmares. Naruto took a deep breath, which managed to keep them at bay. An act which made Yami scowl in disgust. I don't get you, my other half. Why not take revenge on those who treated you harshly? Don't you want the blood on your fingers to taste that oh so lovely coppery taste? Yami smiled, showing his large canines. Come on, deep down you know you want it. Naruto opened his eyes with a sigh and stuck out his right pointer finger as a butterfly went by. Sensing Naruto's calm aura, it gently landed on his finger, an action which made Naruto smile warmly. However, a short while later the butterfly had other plans and calmly flew away. With this, Naruto went back to meditating. In order to feel freedom, a butterfly must stretch its wings and learn to fly. Naruto said out loud, but it was enough for his two tenants to hear. The silence in his mind made Naruto smile and have an easier time focusing on the task at hand. All the while, Yami and Kyuubi simply looked at each other in confusion as they pondered at what those words truly meant. Although they didn't make much sense to them now, in the near future they would return full force. A future where the Kyuubi would have to make the biggest choice of his life. As Naruto meditated, he thought about what has happened since he had that dinner almost 6 months ago. It involved a lot of training, particularly in the Saiza sword stances, and a lot of D-rank missions so that he could further seek the answer to the phrase know thyself. One such event, which Naruto dared not forget, happened last month on his birthday. Flashback, October 10th, Naruto's 8th birthday. The bell jingled above the door as it was opened and, as Naruto stepped in, he saw his master fixing up an old set of samurai armor. Seeing Fukui so busy made Naruto think twice about introducing himself like usual. Instead, Naruto simply walked up and eyed one of the essential pieces of what makes a samurai. The armor, consisting of 10 pieces, were all constructed of bamboo, cloth, and metal which was painted red. There was the helmet which had metal plates that hung off the sides. These were called the nape guard. Next was the chest piece, or the cuirass, multiple tassets hung from the bottom which consisted of more red, metal plates. There was sleeve armor which had handguards, greaves or shin guards, a thigh guard which was half cloth, half metal plates, and lastly was the shoulder armor. 1. Fukui smiled as he saw Naruto looking over the armor. I see this outdated armor has caught your fancy, my student. Naruto nodded while he returned the smile, Hi master, but I thought I wouldn't get armor until I finished my training? You are correct my student, but this armor is special. Naruto cocked his head in confusion. This armor was mine when I was your age. Naruto's eyes widened as he knew what day it was, his birthday. I can't take this as a gift, it's yours, you earned it not me. Naruto shook his head and put his hands up in a no gesture as he spoke, then went behind the counter to pick up the armor he wore before. As he was reaching, Harumasa grabbed Naruto's hand, which made the samurai in training look into his master's eyes. They were filled with happiness and warmth. Please Naruto, you have far surpassed my expectations and I want you to wear this proudly like I did so many years ago. After another glance at the armor, Naruto acquiesced and accepted the gift, which made Harumasa smile. But the retired samurai was not done. He reached under the counter and pulled out a new set of clothing. It was a light blue hakama, pants, and a dark blue hideteir robe, which had spiral-like patterns on it with tan highlights at the end of each sleeve, the bottom of the robe, and up the middle. Naruto was astonished. So surprised, in fact, that he took the articles of clothing with shaky hands and tears of joy in his eyes. After giving the boy a moment, Fukui ruffled Naruto's hair with a small chuckle and told him to change. Once done, he helped Naruto put on the armor, which took about 15 minutes to do. Afterwards, Naruto went to the back room and looked in the mirror with a smile. I hope you were looking at me, Dad. Mom, I bet you would be proud of what I have become. Fukui couldn't help but let out a few tears of his own as he saw his old armor in use again. Take good care of that armor, my student, as we will be traveling to Iron Country in less than a year. Perhaps sooner, depending on how the wind of change blows. Naruto's eyes turned cold as he faced his master, then nodded sternly as he knew of the approaching storm. Although slightly nervous, he was prepared to do what he must to ensure his village would stay safe. I may lose my innocence, master, but in order to know who I really am, it must be done. It was this statement which made one Fukui Haruma's assertion that his student was ready for the long trip ahead, and the final leg in his samurai training. Flashback end. As Naruto paused in reliving one of the memories he has had over the past 6 months, he noticed that multiple butterflies had landed on him. Naruto chuckled to himself and assumed that the calm aura he exuded, thanks to his ki, was the meaning of this. After another 15 minutes, Naruto opened up his eyes and looked at the butterflies that were on him as well as some which fluttered about. As Naruto waved his hand to shoo them away, he thought of the words he gave his tenant and dark half. I am not ready to learn to fly, my wings are not developed. My glass is half full. Much more must be done before I can take flight. Naruto stood and arched his back, which made it crack in several places, then headed inside to put on his armor. There was a certain aura in the sky today, one which was foul and made Naruto want to retch. However, he held his stomach and went to his armor rack and began to put the pieces on. As he did, he thought back to the aura and couldn't help but frown as he knew that today would be the day that all innocence would be lost. Once his armor was secure, and his Bakken firmly affixed to his right side, Naruto headed out to the place where the aura was the strongest. Although the sun began to rise over Konoha, it would bring no warmth as the icy grasp of the Shinigami hung in the air. Uchiha District. Fugaku, who had just woke up and was about to fix himself some coffee, heard a knock on his door which made him grumble something under his breath. As he rubbed the sleep out of his eyes, the knocking came again. Just a moment. He yelled, not happy at not having his morning cup of joe. Once the clan had opened the door, he blinked in shock at the sight in front of him. And Naruto, is that you? Naruto nodded and smiled, may I come in, Fugaku-san? I have a few questions to ask, if you don't mind. Seeing Fugaku allowing him inside made Naruto bow. Once the door closed, he was motioned to the kitchen table. Please sit, Uzumaki-san. Would you care for some coffee? Naruto was about to respond when he felt multiple signatures heading this way, each had very cold and dark ki. Hearing no response, Fugaku looked back and was taken aback at Naruto's cold eyes. Eyes that no 8-year-old should have. As the clan head was about to speak, Naruto held up a hand as he stood. Raise the alarm, enemies are heading this way. Fugaku raised an eyebrow, then waved the threat off. I'm sure those are just some clan members practicing early in the morning. There's nothing to worry about. Naruto looked at the clan head stoically. If you value the life of your clan and this village, you will heed my words, Uchiha-san. Without warning, Shuriken crashed through the nearby window which Naruto blocked with his Bakken. Fugaku got his answer and quickly rushed outside and blew a massive fireball in the sky. As the sounds of fighting and the screams of the wounded and dying started to compound, an explosion was heard in the distance. Naruto knew that place all too well, and he clenched his fists in anger though he heeded Fukui's teachings and quickly calmed himself. His mind, however, was a different story. First they dare attack Konoha, and now they have the gall to try and destroy my father's home. Naruto, having none of it, quickly became emotionless as he remembered everything he was taught. As he walked out the door, Fugaku couldn't help but shiver at the overwhelming aura Naruto was exuding. It was angry like a storm, yet calm as a gentle breeze. Fugaku didn't need to be told what to do, his family came first and, if Naruto's demeanor was any indication, so did Konoha. Naruto Uzumaki, you are to come with us. Naruto looked to the 2ANBU to his right who just appeared. Failure to do so will result in your harm. Of course Danzo would want me, but he made one grave mistake. Naruto sheathed his Bakken and was ready to fight, but he was slightly nervous as he hadn't gotten to the second set of sword katas yet. You have attacked my home and, for that, your death will be swift. You have attacked my home, and for that, your death will be swift. Hokage Tower. Hiruzen just got into his office in order to discuss the medic program and what the spy network had picked up with his two students. However, just as they were to sit down and begin, a massive fireball was seen in the sky followed by an explosion at the Namikaze estates. Hiruzen slammed his fists on his desk, which made it crack, as did the walls, when he exuded raw killer intent, which brought the hidden ANBU to their knees, Jiraiya and Tsunade not faring much better. Jiraiya, head to the Namikaze home with some ANBU. Tsunade, make sure the hospital is ready to receive the wounded. ANBU, evacuate the civilians to the shelters and order all available shinobi to two sectors, the Uchiha district and the root base. Hiruzen emotionlessly ordered as his eyes hardened like steel. Any remaining ANBU come with me as Danzo and I have an old score to settle. Root base. Danzo smiled as he saw his most loyal agents kneeled in front of him, Torian and Fu. The operation has begun, Danzo-sama. Your orders? Torian stated emotionlessly. As a matter of fact, yes. The War Hawk said as he began to pace the room. You two will help me burn any evidence and then we will make our escape. Fu nodded and was about to ask for dismissal when an explosion which ripped through the complex. Not long after, the sounds of fighting was heard, which prompted Fu and Torian to protect their master at all costs. However, from the smoke came one person, one which made Danzo clench his fists in anger. It was Sai, followed by a small army of ex-root members. Your days of tyranny are over, Danzo. Sai stated as he pointed his tanto at the elder. By the end of today, you will no longer be amongst the living. You wretched beast. I gave you everything, a father figure, a bed to sleep in, food, and training, and this is how you repay me. Sai's eyes narrowed as he watched Torian and Fu getting ready to strike, then shifted back to his former master. Yet you were the one to kill my parents and my brother Shin, some father you turned out to be. I will be glad to remove you from this world. You are but a plague that needs to be eradicated. Sai had said his piece and got in a ready stance. Come Danzo, let us commence the dance of death. Danzo didn't hesitate and quickly took out the hidden blade from his cane before ordering Fu and Torian to attack the ex-root behind Sai. Soon, the only ones in the room was master and former student. With a yell, both started their dance. The rebellion had just begun. Uchiha District. Naruto dodged the emotionless drone's taijutsu strikes with an elegant grace. The multiple Aikido training sessions were paying off. To Naruto, it was almost like a form of dancing. Parry a blow with the forearm, then duck under a kick, back roll to make some room, then jump up and repeat the process. After a minute of this, Naruto decided to go on the offensive. His eyes narrowed and he took a deep breath as he knew these opponents could kill him if he made one wrong move. Naruto rushed in and ducked under a sword slash while using his armor on his forearm to block the other assailant's strike. Using the anatomy books he read, Naruto slid under the root agent to his left, turned and kicked the back of his knees, which made him fall to the ground. Before Naruto could capitalize, the other agent attempted to stab Naruto in the head. Without a thought, Naruto quickly drew his Botkan and blocked the strike. Seeing the slight hesitation, Naruto took this and parried his opponent's blade, then rammed his right shoulder into the agent's solar plexus. As Naruto pondered his next move, he forgot about the agent he kicked in the back of the knees. It was close, but Naruto managed to duck just as the sword passed overhead, which made a few blonde locks of hair fall to the ground. Naruto and the root agents, one in front of him another behind, stood silently as they pondered their next move. It only lasted a few moments, but it felt like an eternity. Suddenly, the agent in front attacked but used a shunshin to appear right in front of Naruto, his tanto poised to strike the samurai in training in the heart. For Naruto, time slowed to a crawl as the blade came closer and closer. For the Kyuubi, he could only watch with slight fear in his eyes, an emotion he hadn't felt in many years. Is this how I die? Naruto thought, then remembered what he was fighting for. I cannot die here. This is my home, the one my parents gave their life for when the Kyuubi attacked, and now, it is my job to ensure that no more blood needs to be spilled this day. The root agents watched with awe as Naruto bent backwards with feline-like grace to dodge the blow. The agent behind Naruto was so amazed that he never had time to dodge his partner's sword, which entered his heart. Not looking a gift horse in the mouth, Naruto roared and plunged his ki-enhanced Bakken through the chest of the agent that tried to kill him. Time stood still for Naruto as he realized what he just did. His hands shook, his eyes filled with tears as he looked at his blood-stained hands, and his breath shuddered. Naruto played this scenario many times over in his head before this day, but to actually go ahead with the deed was another thing entirely. Yami grinned as he knew that now was the moment to strike, a grin which he gave the Kyuubi behind the cage. Go on Kyuubi, the time is now to take over your host, show him the power which you exude. Kyuubi looked at Yami, then the state of his container, then back at Yami again. The Bijuu's mind was torn. It could either take control of his host in his weakened state, or help the one that reminded Kyuubi of its father, the sage of six paths, Hagoromo Otsutsuki. Kyuubi looked Yami in the eyes, and made its decision. Maybe I could take over my host, but maybe, just this once, I will help the one that reminds me of the one who gave me life. You stupid, mangy, deluded fool. Yami stormed up to the cage and bashed against the bars. Can't you see the opportunity in front of you? You have the chance to burn Konoha to the ground like you tried so many years ago. If you only knew the truth of what happened on that night, your thoughts would be much different. The Bijuu narrowed his eyes at the peon beneath him, not amused in the slightest. Yami, although slightly confused, knew that the beast in the cage far surpassed him in power. So, with an irritated growl, he stomped off into the recesses of Naruto's mind. Now that he was gone, it was time to get to work. Kyuubi sighed, still not believing he was doing this, and made a mental link with its container. Snap out of it, you stupid mortal. Kyuubi? Naruto stuttered, his shock turning into slight anger. What do you want? Decided to take over me in my weakened state. Kyuubi grumbled in annoyance before he spoke in his usual tone, no, quite the opposite. I will help you, but just this once. You have yet to earn my trust, but do well this day and just maybe I will tell you the truth on what happened the night I attacked your home village. Naruto couldn't say anything. How could he when the Bijuu you were housing for 8 years hated your guts then suddenly decided to help? And the catch? Naruto stoically responded. The Bijuu's eye twitched in anger, but then realized where Naruto was coming from. It was here that Kyuubi showed Naruto a side which not many saw. Compassion. No catch Naruto, just protect this village and this nation, and maybe show others the path to peace, just like my father tried when he created me and the others. Naruto's eyes widened, the sage of six paths. Kyuubi nodded in its cage, I will give you a fraction of my power so you can carry out what you were trained to do. Show the others what the samurai are all about. Naruto saw the fox smile in its cage, which took him off guard slightly. However, it was enough for another root agent to appear behind Naruto, ready to behead him. Just as the tanto made its downward stroke, a red haze started to cover Naruto, which made the blade stop in its tracks. The agent watched as her target stood and turned to face her, the sight of which made 3 words come out of her mouth. It was the name of a legend that had just begun. Akuma no Senshi. Root base. Danzo shot out an air bullet which Sai expertly dodged. Before the Warhawk could get another attack off, Sai drew a tiger and made it attack his ex-master. Sadly for Sai, Danzo sliced the beast in half, turning it into ink once again. For the first part of the fight, both initiated an intense taijutsu bout with both not gaining any ground. Now, it was an anything goes. Sai, however, knew he wasn't strong enough to defeat his old master, so he resorted to the underhand tactics which he was taught. Before the fight, Sai had made many ink clones. Some were mixed in with those fighting while others hid in the shadows. These would be used to his advantage in the hope that he could kill the Warhawk in front of him. After dodging another air bullet and a swipe of the cane sword, Sai took a page out of the Seven Swordsman's playbook by using his ink mist technique to cover the area. Thanks to this, the ex-root agent switched with one of his hidden clones just as Danzo started to hacking away at anything that Sai threw at him. Do you honestly think this cheap trick will work? After some hand signs, wind release, great breakthrough. As the wind started to disperse the ink cloud, the clone rushed in from behind ready to stab Danzo in the heart. However, the root leader wasn't a Kage for nothing. He expertly dodged the strike and smashed his right elbow into the clone's nose, which made it disperse. Another clone rushed in soon after, but drew a massive amount of animals just as the other hidden clones inside were doing the same. They all finished at the same time. Super beast imitating drawing. Multiple tigers, bears, wolves, and other predatory creatures attacked Danzo, which made the man scoff at the feeble attempt. Although old, Danzo dodged and slashed with precision. However, once a couple tigers managed to draw blood, he had had enough and quickly summoned Baku. Sai cursed mentally as he saw the strange beast, even more so when he and his clone's creations started to get sucked in. Using this, Danzo unleashed his wind release, vacuum serial waves which cut anything in its path. Sensing the danger, Sai tried to switch with a clone from the outside, but was too late. As the artist was sucked towards Baku, he was sliced deeply by the attack. The screams of pain made Danzo turn and look upon his subordinate with an evil smile. Sai, I am deeply disappointed in you. Attacking me all alone? I thought I taught you better than that? He taunted and poised his hidden blade to end Sai's life. Sai looked up but couldn't speak. The pain was too much, and the amount of blood loss he was experiencing made him understand that death was around the corner. As Danzo raised the blade, Sai closed his eyes and waited for the end with a smile on his face. I'm coming home, Shin, mother, father. A clang sound interrupted his thoughts, which made Sai open his eyes to see what had happened. To his surprise, he saw the Sandaime Hokage with 20 ANBU at his disposal. The blade that was going to end it all was held in Hiruzen's hands thanks to hardening his skin with Earth Chakra. Danzo traced his eyes up the arm and into Hiruzen's cold eyes, which made the elder flinch. Some of you take Sai to Tsunade ASAP. The rest of you, help the rebellion. Danzo and I have an old score to settle. Hiruzen harshly said, his cold stare bored into Danzo's demented one. Ah, Hiruzen, how nice to. Cut the shit, Danzo, Hiruzen interrupted in a veteran-like tone. I have been lenient in the past with your actions, but no more. It ends today, our friendship is officially over. Hiruzen released the cane sword, which made Danzo sigh, then he stepped back so as to give his old friend some room before they started their bout. As the Sarutobi summoned his good pal Enma, Danzo had one last thing to say before all hell broke loose. This was a long time coming, old friend. Out of all the opponents, I respect you the most, even though your actions in the past were questionable at best. He sighed at the end and held his cane sword at the ready. The Sandaime nodded at Enma, who transformed into an adamantine staff. Truer words have never been spoken, Danzo. Shall we begin? Danzo dismissed his summon and decided to fight like the past when he and Hiruzen would spar. The two now enemies let out a battle cry as they attacked. A fight between two Kage-level shinobi had begun. Uchiha District. The root agent shook in fear at the figure in front of her. He had blood-red eyes with a black, feline pupil, elongated canines, and an aura that screamed death. Naruto looked at his blood-soaked Bakken, then at the Tanto on the ground nearby. He flicked the blood off his training sword, sheathed it, and picked up the weapon that was used against him not so long ago. Again, Naruto started into the fear-filled eyes of his attacker and, with a voice that sounded like a mix between his own and Kyuubi's, Naruto said his decree before he vanished in a blur. You are but one of many. Be gone. The next thing the root agent saw was darkness as her head was cleanly severed from her shoulders. Naruto appeared behind his opponent with his Tanto outstretched, no blood was present on the blade. As he vanished to other parts of the district, Fukui watched in curiosity and slight fear. So has Kyuubi decided to help my student, or will it use this to help gain a hold of Naruto so that he can be taken over in the future? After a brief moment, Harumasa smiled. I am simply overthinking, my student will prevail. Halt, yelled a root agent as others ran behind him to intercept. The retired samurai simply vanished and reappeared in front of the 20 root agents. The one behind Fukui suddenly fell forward without a head, which made said agents back away in fear. Seeing his opponents back away made the samurai hum an eerily happy tune as he walked towards the group without fear. As he did this, he grasped the umbrella on his back and opened it once it was raised above his head. The agents were now confused. Nice weather we're having. Did you know it's going to rain today? What are you on about? There's not a cloud in the sky. One of the agents responded, but soon got his answer by an explosion that rained down blood and body parts. Once the storm passed, Harumasa closed the umbrella, and suddenly skewered one of the agents in front of him. Before the rude agents could react, the elder samurai drew his katana in a blur and slowly sheathed it as he walked away. Once it locked into place, the rest of the agents fell into bloody chunks. Like when he advanced towards the agents, Fukui walked away still humming that eerie tune. For the ANBU that appeared beside him, such a tune did not sit well with their gut and began to wonder if Fukui was sane at all. Samurai-san, did you have to be so messy? Did you know that we are in a war? Harumasa quipped, his smile still present. The ANBU cleared his throat, right, sorry Samurai-san, but seeing you in action for the first time is impressive to say the least. Said person simply nodded, then watched as a red blur shot by, which made him chuckle. Naruto, I wonder how your mind will be after this day is done. Perhaps I will have to talk to your darkness myself to ensure that our trip will be uninterrupted. With Naruto, earlier. Naruto appeared beside Fugaku and Itachi, whom looked at the red aura around him with slight fear as they thought the Kyuubi took over. Is that you, Naruto, or the Kyuubi? Fugaku asked, then took a few steps back as Naruto turned to him and smiled to show off his fangs. This is all me, Fugaku-san. Kyuubi has been helpful for once in my life. Naruto suddenly ducked under a punch, then grabbed the offending appendage and brought it down on his knee. It broke with a sickening snap. Naruto threw the broken arm to the side, which made the assailant stumble, something which Naruto capitalized on. He thrust his fist into the opponent's stomach, but instead of stopping, it went straight through. Naruto blinked in shock, then took his hand out with disgust written on his face. Yuck! Naruto bent down and wiped his bloody hand on the person he just killed, then stood and looked towards the two Uchiha. Well, are you going to join in on the festivities, or are you just going to sit there catching flies? Naruto chuckled at the end due to seeing the jaw-dropped expressions Fugaku and Itachi was giving him. After no response, Naruto calmly walked to a nearby clearing and sat in a seiza position as he sensed incoming enemies. As he waited, Itachi shook his head in mirth. Just 8 years old and he already can kill ANBU, and with impressive speeds nonetheless. But how will his mentality be after today? Fugaku responded, a sigh escaping his lips. Itachi winced knowing how he was when he first killed. It took a week before he came to grips with what he did. Before he could respond, more enemies shined in, which prompted another fight to break out. While they fought, they saw Naruto surrounded by 5 rude agents and began to worry. That worry, however, turned into shock as Naruto snapped open his eyes and bifurcated the agent in front of him, his sword being but a blur. Naruto then finished his Saizakata by stabbing the enemy to the right, ducking under an attempt to behead him, then slashed upwards at the rude agent that was coming in front of him. Sadly, that's when the good news ended. The remaining 2 rude agents managed to stab Naruto in the back, barely missing his spine. As Naruto roared in pain, the red aura around him grew stronger to the point where the village could start to feel it. Luckily for Jiraiya, he was done at the Namake's estate. Without warning, the 2 agents were killed with a punch to the back of the head, and a seal was slapped on Naruto's forehead, which made Kyuubi's aura vanish. Before Naruto passed out, he looked at his godfather's face with a smile and uttered a few words. Kyuubi helped me. Jiraiya sighed as he lifted his godson bridal style, then handed him over to Fukui as he appeared. The samurai bowed, thank you Jiraiya-san, I will ensure that my student gets plenty of rest. The Toad Sage nodded with a smile, he did good out there, but the fact Kyuubi is now helping Naruto is troubling to say the least. Hi. Harumasa said sternly, but I will be checking on my own to see what its true intentions are. He paused, then spoke again, this time in a calm, sage-like tone. And don't worry about my students' injuries, they will heal soon enough, scars are what make a boy become a man. With that, master and student disappeared, which left Jiraiya and the others to finish fighting, which wouldn't take long to do. By afternoon, all the fighting was done and whispers of Naruto's talents soon spread across the village and into the elemental nations. Root Base. The rebellion was basically over as the remaining loyal Root eventually surrendered, but that didn't stop the ones who started it with Sai, however. They stayed to watch the fight between their old master and their Hokage, as witnessing one of these was rare. In fact, the fight left them speechless as they had no idea that a shinobi could become that powerful. Booms could be heard on where the blows landed, but those who fought would be all but a blur. Suddenly, the group watching had to disperse as the Sandaime launched a fire dragon bullet towards Danzo. Thanks to the Warhawk having almost complete mastery of wind, he was able to snuff the attack out and use the built-up wind to launch a massive wind sphere at Hiruzen. Like a true Kage, he never flinched and calmly raised an earth-style wall to block the attack. Once the dust had settled, Danzo and Hiruzen met in the air as they jumped. The Sandaime tried to slam his staff into Danzo's stomach, but the Root leader managed to use it as leverage. However, Danzo forgot one thing: the staff was a transformed Enma. The Monkey King made his hand come from the staff, and caught Danzo by the leg. It was here that Hiruzen and Enma coordinated their attacks. While Enma threw the Root leader in the air, Sarutobi smashed the staff on his midsection, which made Danzo cough and wheeze. Shortly after, said person smashed to the ground below in a loud crash and kick-up of dust. The two were not Kage for nothing though, as Hiruzen suddenly ducked under the swipe of Danzo's cane sword. The Hokage used Enma as a pole vault soon after to make some distance, but instead of attacking like Hiruzen thought, he watched as his old friend started to undo his arm bandages. I applaud you, Hiruzen, and am thankful to see that old age hasn't caught up to you. But alas, you will fall here while I become the next ruler of Konoha. The Sandaime scowled and was prepared to attack, but that is when the bandages fell to the floor. There, on Danzo's shoulder, was the face of Hashirama Senju. Dear Kami Danzo, please tell me you didn't do what I think you did. Hiruzen softly stated, his mind in shock. Danzo simply smirked and ran through some hand signs before unleashing a jutsu not seen since Hashirama was alive. Say hello to Sensei for me. Would release, Nativity of a Sea of Trees. The group spectating suddenly evacuated as they felt the ground shake beneath their feet, tree saplings starting to pop up. Meanwhile, with Hiruzen, he looked at his old friend in disbelief at how far he had fallen, but when the ground started to crack, Hiruzen knew what was about to happen. With a yell from Danzo, who pushed more chakra into his trump card, the saplings exploded outward and upward into trees, some breaching the ceiling overhead. Enma changed back to his true form as he and the Hokage dodged to the best of their ability. However, the Monkey King knew that he would be needed later, so he jumped to what he thought was a safe spot and decided to wait in the shadows. As more and more trees burst through the ceiling, Hiruzen knew it wouldn't be long until the whole base collapsed. Stop this, Danzo, you're going to kill us both. He yelled out in the hopes his old friend would stop this madness. All Sarutobi got in return was an evil laugh, followed by more trees blooming from the ground. Suddenly, the entire ceiling collapsed as well as sections of the base. This, of course, made parts of the village collapse. Luckily, most of these were abandoned buildings in the red light district. As the trees stopped growing and the dust settled, a cracked earthen dome could be seen. One which quickly collapsed back into the ground to reveal an unharmed Hiruzen who sighed in relief and began looking for Danzo. However, that was when pain ripped through his chest and he coughed out blood. As he looked down, a small, thin blade covered in blood could be seen. How? Hiruzen coughed out as he saw Danzo holding his cane sword behind him. A massive victorious grin was on his face. Danzo, however, was not in the healthiest state. Blood poured from various cuts and where chunks of his skin was missing. The bandages over his one eye was stained red, the old wound opened once again. I simply merged myself with one of the trees I built. Danzo paused to cough out some blood. Too bad it got crushed by a piece of falling debris. But it matters not, as you will be meeting the Shinigami soon. The injured Sandaime suddenly smiled, then started laughing, a deep booming laugh, which caught Danzo off guard. One word, Danzo, boom. The Warhawk's eye widened before his whole body was engulfed in a massive explosion. Up in the trees, Enma helped Hiruzen stand as a piece of debris managed to land on his right leg. If not for the Monkey King, the Sandane would have likely died. Thank you, Enma, you have saved me once again. He said tiredly, then grew saddened by what he had to do. Enma patted his summoner's shoulders with a smile. You did the right thing, my friend, his tyranny is now over and Konoha can once again be at peace. The Sandane nodded, but a lone tear managed to come out one of his eyes. Quickly wiping it away, he told Enma to take him to the hospital. With a plume of white smoke, the two vanished from the area. The trees that bloomed would forever be a reminder to the battle that took place. Harumasa's Emporium. Fukui placed Naruto on the cot in his office, which resided in the back of the store. Once there, he checked his students' wounds and wasn't surprised to see that they were fully healed. With a sigh, the old samurai grabbed a nearby chair, placed it near the cot, and sat down. He then placed his right hand upon Naruto's forehead, closed his eyes, and concentrated. Soon, Harumasa found himself in front of a massive cage with its contents staring right at him. So, the master decides to pay a visit. Humph, how quaint. The Kyuubi replied in an agitated manner. Fukui simply sat down and looked the fox in the eyes, a stare which Naruto gave not so long ago. Agitated manner. Tell me, Kyuubi-san, did you help my student for his own gain or for yours? For both. If the mortal dies, I do as well, nothing more, nothing less. Kyuubi let out a small growl of annoyance before he laid down in his cramped cage. I still don't know why I am telling you this. Fukui shrugged. Perhaps that hate-filled shell of yours is finally starting to crack. Doubt it, I am a beast of destruction. Such a shell never cracks. Kyuubi said, now wanting this man out of the mindscape. I won't help the mortal again, it was a one-time deal. I feel he is strong enough to take care of himself. The retired samurai shook his head with a sigh. You are contradicting yourself, Kyuubi-san. On one hand you said that helping Naruto was for both your gain and his, yet, you say that you will not help again. Kyuubi might be sucking up to the boy, but it is I who will not allow such a thing to happen, Harumasa. Yami interrupted to make his presence known. It is I that will show Naruto that darkness is the right way to go, and that Kyuubi's power is the only way to bring justice upon those who have wronged him. I know all about my student's nightmares you have been giving him for the past 6 months. With today's events, his mind will be fragile once he comes to grip with what he has done. Yami see that at the calm tone the samurai was exuding, but suddenly smirked. A weak mind is a strong one for me, easy to manipulate, easy to conquer, easy to enact revenge. Fukui sighed once more, then stood and brushed the imaginary dirt off his kimono. I don't doubt your intentions, Yami, but as a test to you, Kyuubi, he stared the beast in the eyes again. You will have to make sure your container does not fall off the cliff. Like you said, if he dies, so do you. With that Harumasa disappeared, which made Yami and Kyuubi stare at each other. So, what shall it be, my furry friend? Yami posed the ultimate question. Will you help me take over, or will you prove that your hateful shell has been cracked?